All right, let's call this last meeting of the year to order. Welcome, everyone. Thanks so much for joining us. We have a pretty full house today, so thanks everyone for joining us. I will note that Commissioner Parrish is excused, and I believe that we have Commissioners Orton and Commissioners Orton and Jacobson online with us, and they're present. And okay, perfect. Well, let's go ahead and start with our traditional Pledge of Allegiance. Kimberly is going to lead us in that. Thank you. Right. We need to approve the minutes from our November 29th commission meeting. Has everyone had a chance to take a look at those minutes? Any edits to note?
No, I'll make the motion that we approve the minutes.
Great. Thank you, Commissioner Tui. Do we have a second to that motion?
Second.
All right. Thank you, Commissioner Randall. I assume there's no discussion. And I think the way I know this is actually a really low pressure agenda item, but the way I'd like to handle voting this meeting, given that we have two commissioners online, I would like to do roll call vote. So let's go ahead and take a vote on approving those minutes. Vicki, can you help us with that? Sure. Aye.
Aye. Aye.
Aye. Commissioner Orton, do you vote? How do you vote?
Yes, aye. Sorry, we can't hear Vicki.
Commissioner Jacobson. Commissioner Jacobson.
Aye.
All right, thank you. We've got a couple of announcements next on the agenda. We are going to begin holding our meetings on Thursdays in this location. So it will normally be, so we'll go to a regular schedule of the last Thursday of the month. We still say that those are proposed just to give us some flexibility if there's a necessity for a change, but please plan on these meetings being held on Thursdays, the last Thursday of the month in the new year. So our first 2023 meeting will be Thursday, January 26th. Anyone who would like to make public comment on this meeting may email hotline@utah.gov. We will address public comment at the end of the meeting. If anyone here would like to make public comment verbally, we'll also take that public comment at the end of the meeting. Just a reminder that this Saturday, December 24th, is Christmas Eve, and all state liquor stores will close at 6 p.m. Please be kind to our staff. They are just working their tails off at this time of year. That will be a very busy day. If you can get in to the stores early, I would suggest that you do that. And then with the next holiday coming up, Saturday, December 31st is New Year's Eve, and all state liquor stores will close at 7 p.m. And then we've got a couple of holiday closures that our administrative office, warehouse, and liquor stores will be closed during. So Monday, December 26th is Christmas Day, that we'll actually have the closure for Christmas on that day. And then Monday, January 2nd, we'll observe New Year's Day. And then on Monday, January 16th, we'll be observing Dr. Martin Luther King Jr. Day, and the stores, administrative offices, and warehouses will be closed. Next on our agenda, we will hear a financial update from our finance leader, Sean. Can you walk us through that update, please?
Good morning, Commissioners. Thank you for the opportunity to present the November financials. We had in November 2022, total retail sales of $49.6 million, which is an increase over last year of 12%. So this is kind of reversing the trend we saw at the beginning of the year where sales were flat, and they're now increasing. But that's just on a sales perspective. On a bottle count, we're down about 250,000 bottles from the same time last year. So down about 7%. So really the majority of the gains were from increases in cost of goods sold and other, pricing issues, transportation and such. After all expenditures, we plan to return about $7.8 million to the general fund from November. However, these numbers are preliminary because we're still working with the new reporting system we have, the new actually ERP, but we're getting close to getting you reports that are very explanatory, and you can really drill down into that information. Are there any questions on the financials?
Great. Sounds like there's no question. Sean, thanks as always for keeping a close eye on these things, and we'll look forward to, I know the implementation of that new reporting system has not been easy, but we'll really look forward to seeing those new and improved reports. And again, thank you for all that you're doing for us. Next, we're going to hear our regular Parents Empowered update from Doug Murakami. Thanks so much for being here, Doug.
Thank you, Chair. Good morning, Commissioners. We're at our halfway point in the fiscal year, and it's just a natural point for us to check our progress, to make sure we're on track, and to make sure we're moving forward. I just wanted to mention some of the things we've accomplished. Even before the fiscal year starts, we sat down with our work group and we plan our strategic plan. We plan out our new campaign creative, and we lay out our media plan and a very detailed budget plan as well that we present to the Utah Substance Use and Utah Substance Use and Mental Health Advisory Council. So a lot is done even prior to the fiscal year, but when the first half of the year, we're heavy into production. We've produced 6 new TV spots. We have 6 new radio spots, as well as 3 new Spanish radio spots as well. So very much on track with those. And then we awarded 14 new community partnership projects. These are the partnership projects that we launch throughout the state of Utah to coalitions to promote underage drinking prevention at the local community level. So we're excited about those. We had a great event up in Park City. We partnered with Encircle. This is LGBTQ youth program that helps youth and their families. And we had a great mural cutting ribbon ceremony up there. And we did this because we understand that LGBTQ plus youth are can be at greater risk for substance use disorders. So that was a great event as well. And then looking forward, we'll continue to execute our detailed plans, campaign plans for the future. One of the things I wanted to mention also is that our 14 CPP projects throughout the state, we're going to be working on those. That'll be our main focus for the second half of the year. And then I did want to mention that January is Parents Empowered Month. For the past several years, we've done a social media contest with our 13 local area substance use prevention districts throughout the state of Utah. We challenge them to post underage drinking prevention messages on their social media websites and whatnot. And we award them with some Parents Empowered outreach materials that are very popular in their communities, like T-shirts and chit chat cards and so forth. So it's really a win-win. They get excited to post on their websites and whatnot, and they can create custom posts, or we provide them with videos as well. So we make it really easy for them to do, but it's a great win-win event. Also, we're working on some other Parents Empowered month activities. So stay tuned. We'll keep you posted on that as they progress and develop. So also just a quick ask. We do presentations to parents, right? And our challenge is finding parents. So if in your circles or whatever, if you know of any groups of parents that we can get in front of, we're happy to do that. And we'll certainly tailor our time to whatever time they'll give us. So keep that in mind, just as a quick ask from you. So that concludes my report.
Great. Thank you, Doug. Thank
Thank
you
you.
so much for everything you do. And we'll look forward to seeing all of the good things that happen during Parents Empowered Month. And then, of course, really Parents Empowered Year. And I will definitely take your request with me and see what I can do for getting you connected into some of my circles. Are there any questions of the commission for Doug? All right. Well, we'll look forward to, again, connecting in Parents Empowered Month and then hearing a report on how the month went in February. Great. Thank you. Okay, next on the agenda, we have the appointment of an agency information security manager. Director Clayson, I think you're going to take this one.
Yes, so this is for Jerry Aver, and she currently serves in our security officer position and has done for over 2 years. This is really very, red tape in nature. We're moving her classification over. And because of that, statute asks for requests that we just have that approved by the commission in those instances. So it was a little gray. So I erred on the side of caution in making sure that we just took a vote and that you all would approve her. But again, you all know Jerry, she does a great job assessing our security risks, working on security audits, and really protecting the data, privacy, and security of our operations, of our customers, data, et cetera, and everything that we do. So we think she's doing a great job. We want to obviously request that you approve this classification change, but nothing else will change.
Okay, thank you. When I did sit on the operations subcommittee, I always looked forward to Jerry's updates, and she does just wonderful work for us. And so I'm happy to take a motion to approve this appointment.
So moved.
Okay, that's moved by Commissioner Tui. Is there a second to that motion? Seconded by Commissioner Randall. Any discussion? All right. We're going to go ahead and, as I mentioned, do a roll call vote given our online participants. So let's call for a vote. Vicki, can you help with that?
Chair Tenner.
Aye.
Commissioner Tui.
Aye.
Commissioner Randall. Commissioner Terrazon. Commissioner Orton.
Aye.
Commissioner Jacobson.
Aye.
All right, we'll move that. That appointment has passed. Thank you. Thank you, Vicki. All right, next on the agenda, we have a discussion item. There is the administrative rule, which you all know we've been working on for the past several months. So We voted on a block of rules last month, except for our 82-2309, which was the 50 milliliter spirituous liquor, 187 milliliter wine sales rule. And we just took that extra time, as you recall, right? Because we had a decent amount of public comment that came in that we had to review. We also were in touch with legislative leadership. And so that's what took the extra time there. I have listed this as a discussion item in the agenda. So you'll note that it's not on our agenda as an action item. That's something that I as chair have requested, given the fact that Commissioner Tui and I met with legislative leadership in the last couple of weeks to discuss this topic. And their feeling, as they've signaled to us, the feeling of legislative leadership is that the sale of these smaller bottles in the stores is a major alcohol policy issue. And so, as we all know, in Utah, the legislature has authority over alcohol policy issues. We as a commission, right, we work on operational decisions, and that's where that line has been drawn. And so given that legislative leadership is telling us that they see this as a major policy issue and have asked to take it up in the elected body, I am going to respect that request. And we're not going to take action on this rule today. I do feel like as a commission, we put a lot of work into this, right? So our staff did a lot of prep work on this, working with alcohol policy working group to get to the point where it came before the commission as a rule to contemplate. And I appreciate all the work of this commission. We did a lot of due diligence on this issue, right? We listened to a lot of public comment. So I think we could have gotten to the point where we voted on this rule. But given that the legislature is telling us that they see this as a policy issue that they want to take up in their body, I have not listed it as an action item here today. That all being said, I do think that given that we have all taken the time to look at this, if we need to share our insights, I think we should take a little bit of time to do that. Before I do that, though, I just want to look to Director Clayson and to Angela. If there anything that you need to add just from an administrative standpoint that I'm missing.
I was prepared, good morning, commissioners, to put on the record just the procedural flow of the rule, if you would like me to. Okay, great. So the commission considered this rule at its July 26th, 2022 meeting. And at that time, you also allowed for public comment on this rule, as well as all the other rules that were considered at that time. At the end of that meeting, you unanimously voted to send it through the formal rulemaking process. The 30-day public comment ended on October 15th, 2022. At the end of that public comment period, staff gathered up lots of input, both in support and in opposition, and forwarded that to the commission for its consideration. Just as an FYI, if no formal action is taken, this rule, the change to this rule will automatically expire on January 14th, 2023.
Right. Thank you, Angela. I'd appreciate that update. I wanted to, for the record, turn to Director Clayson very quickly on the statistics that did come in terms of public comment, pro and con for this rule.
During the 30-day public comment period, 491 pieces of public comment were given. Of those 491, 324 were in support of the rule and 157 were in opposition to the rule.
Thank you, Director Clayson. And again, thank you to the commission for taking the time to go through. I know that I went through all of this comment. I know that you all did. And so thank you for taking the time to go through it. And thank you to those who submitted public comment and shared insights with us. Very helpful part of the process. And if we were to act, right, like this is something that we would have been contemplating as a commission. But again, the legislature would like to take this up as a policy issue and really respect, I respect their role to do that. Do any of my colleagues want to share any insights on this?
Yeah, Chair Tenor.
Go ahead, Commissioner. Thank you.
I just wanted to, again, commend staff and my other commissioners for the tremendous effort that and time that was spent on this rule. And it's, slightly disappointing to see it end this way, but do see, legislative leadership's, sentiment that this should be a policy issue that they may or may not decide to take up. But I did want to say in the public comment process and in the public hearing that was held for those that followed it, there was representations made in some of the public comments citing sources that did not support evidence provided in the comments. And it was really disappointing to see that play out in a public forum where people were making statements that they said were backed up by studies. And when you read the studies, which I did, they had nothing to do with the comments being made. So I just wanted to reiterate that we take this very seriously. And I was very, very disappointed to see that. Did call it out in the public hearing, but wanted to say going forward that if you're going to be citing things to this commission, that we will take it seriously. So you need to back up what you're saying with facts and with data. And so I wanted to make sure I got that on the record. And I also wanted to, share my own personal sentiment as a discussion item that it's disappointing to me when I go to Utah liquor stores as a customer and I have to buy bigger volume of whatever you're buying to be able to take it home. I wish that I was able to buy, 1 ounce or 1.5 ounces of something to try it out, to use it in a recipe. When I did my shift at the stores when I did 2 shifts last year, I had multiple customers say, I don't drink, I'm looking to use this in a recipe. Is there anything smaller than this, full-size bottle? And unfortunately, we do have larger formats here. We're the only state in the country that doesn't allow for the sale of mini bottles. So personally, this is a little disappointing for me because I think the data that I read supports this rule moving forward, but also totally see where legislative leadership is coming from and support them in their request today.
Great. Commissioner, thank you for going on the record with all of that. And at your point, just generally, again, not about this issue, but just generally about when we're weighing on issues and hearing public comment, it is so important that what comes into us is factual and backed up. We just appreciate everyone who takes the time to share that, but then also there's a lot of time on our side. And so we just need to make sure that everything that we're seeing is credible. And then thank you so much for sharing your sentiment. And I would say that I felt a lot of respect in that meeting that we had with legislative leadership. And I certainly will be sharing some of the insights that I learned. I would encourage the commissioners to share their insights with legislative leadership and their legislators. And I would encourage all the stakeholders that spoke for and against this policy to share their insight with the legislature on this policy issue. Is there anyone else who'd like to make a comment?
I'll make a brief
Yeah, go ahead,
comment as
Commissioner.
well. Thank you, Commissioner Tui, for those comments. I would back all of them. I would also add just an element to, in a lot of the discussions, I feel like the tourism industry was surfaced as the key trigger for moving forward with this discussion. To Commissioner Tui's points, I also served in some of those liquor stores and helped out a couple, or was it last year? I think it was last year, and helped out there. And it was the same thing. The demographic and the population in Utah is changing so much. So I think that that's something that's important for us. And as you're reading through, and I would encourage the legislators to read through those comments, it's not solely the tourism industry that's pushing for this, but it's also Utah residents and Utahns. We have a changing demographic. We're growing the business in the state of Utah. The economic development in the state of Utah is expanding. And so all of those elements need to be taken into account as well.
Thank you, Commissioner. All right. All right, seeing no more comment, let's go ahead and move on
Well,
to our next.
Could I make a comment?
Oh,
Even
yeah,
though I'm not
absolutely.
there?
Commissioner Jacobson, and we see that happy Hanukkah to you.
Thank you.
Great backdrop, but yeah, go ahead. Thank you.
I think that the thing that hurt people who were much opposed to it was the fact, as was pointed out, that what they were using for support didn't back it up. And as a result, I think it hurt their argument. So to that extent, and being fair to everyone, I think the same way you'd expect to see a judge or somebody else, treat a legal issue, is I would tell the people that were opposed to the smaller bottles of both the wine and the spirits, that if you have really arguments that you need to make and want to make the legislature, I would strongly suggest you read the stuff that you cite, because that, I think, materially, as Commissioner Tui pointed out, it made it difficult to accept any of the other conclusions that were thereby drawn in their communications with us. And to that extent, I think, and trying to give this matter a full hearing and hear both sides, I think it's very important to pass that admonition on to the folks that were, for the most part, opposed to going to this. I would point out that what was also brought up about anywhere you travel, it's much easier to get. I'm in Jerusalem right now, and down at the corner market, I can go in there and I can buy small bottles of wine and small bottles of spirits. And I asked somebody, I said, is this just because the way everything's here? And people said, no, this is the way that they like to do it, because then they don't have a bunch of stuff in their house. So that was one of the things I heard, that from a place where they're actually doing it. So to that extent, I think a lot of the other commissioners have spoken, but the strongest advice I would give to the public is be in contact with your legislators, let them know how you feel about it. We as a commission, I think, have spoken, and so it's up to the people to tell the legislatures how they feel about it, and the legislature at that point in time, I think, will make a determination.
Thank you, Commissioner. All right, seeing no other comment, let's go ahead and move on to our next agenda item. We have a consent calendar with all of the information provided to us in our materials. Sam, can you share on the consent calendar, please?
Good morning, Chair, Commissioners. All items 1 through 19 have signed settlement agreements and are complete and ready for commission action. If there's any questions.
Great. Are there any questions of Sam on the calendar? If not, I would be looking for a motion to approve it.
I'll make the motion to approve.
Okay, move for approval by Commissioner Randall. Is there a
Second.
second?
I'll second, and then I have some
Yep.
comments.
All right, seconded by Commissioner Tui. So discussion to that motion. Commissioner Tui, go ahead.
I would be looking to Commissioner Orton to also make comments or not for, I know it's hard being remote, as head of the compliance committee. We were specifically interested in a few items on this consent account calendar related to violations because of the severity of the violation or the repeat nature of the offense. Specifically wanted to call out a few of those items. Tandoori Oven in Logan. By the way, I love your restaurant as a Logan native. We had a violation there. Item 9, Sakura Japanese Steak and Sushi Bar. Item 12, Tucano's Brazilian Grill as a repeat offense. And I think it's item 15, Carver's in Sandy, also a repeat offense. And item 19, Buffalo Wild Wings. Commissioner Orton, anything you wanted to talk about from a compliance committee point of view on those items?
Yes, I wasn't certain in what order we were going to do this today, but I just want to, I'm particularly concerned that we continue to hear from our law enforcement partners that there are situations where either owners or managers or whomever has committed a violation, it seems particularly with relation to the Cubs program, that we are seeing violence, physical violence, verbal violence, verbal abuse. I don't understand this, but I am particularly concerned that we, for the second time, or the second month in a row, this month we had Sakura. And it was their first offense. They had a sale to minor, untrained server. And I can't remember who it was. I want to say it was an owner, but maybe a manager who was yelling and swearing at a UHP officer and was being verbally abusive all the way up to the car. And I just don't understand how this is seen by some of a very small number of our licensees as appropriate behavior. So I would very much like to hear from Sakura in particular. I am worried about Tandoori Oven having a sale to minor by a minor. That's a really serious offense. And so I would love to hear from Tandoori Oven. I don't know if we need to hear from Red Tacos. I believe that situation has been solved. Sam, could you tell us, is that situation resolved now?
Sorry. Yes, the Red Tacos has been resolved. They are going
Okay.
to stipulate to a revocation of their license. This is a fast food restaurant, and I think she's determined that it's a little bit harder to get employees to take appropriate actions on this. Now, with this stipulated revocation, she cannot reapply for another license for another 3 years. So I believe that one has been resolved.
Okay, thank you.
Thank you. And then I believe Commissioner Tui, I think we decided we might want to hear from Buffalo Wild Wings as well. It's their second offense. And I know that they're taking steps to rectify the problem, but again, it's a second offense. And we have a similar situation with Tucanos where it's a second offense. And the Carver's situation is, I hope, unusual. But given the impact that the pandemic has had on so many of our licensees, so Carver's basically had untrained staff. And so, but they are taking steps to train all of their staff, and they are also adding 3 additional scanners for a total of 5 scanners. I don't know if other commissioners would like to hear from Carver's and Tucanos and Red Tacos, but I personally would like to hear from Tandoori Oven and Sakura and probably Buffalo Wild Wings again.
Okay, Commissioner, what we're going to need is, since we treat the consent calendar as one block vote with one item, if we're going to discuss any of the items individually, as you're proposing, we're going to need a substitute motion then. I would suggest the substitute motion is to approve the consent calendar except for those items that you've brought up, which are numbers 3, 9, and 19. Would that be your substitute motion?
And this is why I was wondering whether this was the time we had determined we were doing it, because I thought we were doing it after we voted on the consent calendar. But if no other commissioners have any of the other licensees they'd like to hear from, that would be my motion.
Okay, thank you. Is there a second to that substitute?
I'll
motion?
second.
All right, there's been a second to the substitute motion. I'm actually probably way out on whatever Robert's rules are here, but I think that we're in an okay place. I'm looking to council. So let's go ahead and vote on approving the
Well,
consent calendar.
Wait a minute, wait. We have discussion usually. I'm going to vote no on the consent calendar because I believe the ones we wanted to pull on this were items 12, 15, which were left out of Commissioner Horton was saying, 19, and I'm looking at, and I believe the other one was there was a question about number 3. So it'd be 3.
No.
So that's why.
No, I said, I want to hear from Tandoori Oven, which is
Right.
3. 6 is Red Tacos, which I believe has been rectified. You want to hear from Red Tacos?
No,
9 is Sakura. I want to hear from them. 19 is Buffalo Wild Wings. I asked to hear from them. Tucanos, I asked if any other commissioners would like to hear from them. It's their second offense. And 15, I also asked if commissioners would like to hear from them, as it seems that they are rectifying the situation, but.
well, yeah, but if you're going to be fair, if 15, it does have a prior violation and they had a sale to a minor by an untrained server. So there was a sale to a minor that still took place, just like the others.
Right. I mentioned that. So
Okay, let's go ahead and go back and we're gonna go. So we've had a bit of discussion of the motion. I'm gonna call for the vote on the substitute motion, on the motion that's on the table. And that is to approve the consent calendar, except for 3, 9, and 19. Let's go ahead and take a roll call vote on that.
Chair Tenard,
No.
Commissioner Tui,
Aye.
Commissioner Randall,
Aye.
Commissioner Terrazon, Commissioner Orton,
I,
Commissioner Jacobson.
No,
Okay, I'm going to rule that that motion has passed. This is just a point of order and this consent calendar, and what's frustrating about this consent calendar is it's so long. And so it gets confusing, right? Like, what are we talking about? We have all the materials ahead of time. And I appreciate now that our Attorney General is putting the additional information about the aggravating details into the settlement agreements. That was something that was missing for me before. And so, I would feel like I would have to get more information and discuss. So I appreciate, Sam, that you're now putting that information into the materials that we review ahead of time. And I would suggest that let's do our best to, ahead of time when possible, make sure that our staff know which ones we would like to hear from in the public meeting so that we can list them as outside of the consent calendar. So we don't have one big consent calendar where we're pulling items off from. So given where we are right now, then we've approved I'm ruling that we've approved the consent calendar without those couple of items with no votes from me and Commissioner Jacobson. So now we're going to go back to the individual items that we need to hear and treat the others as individual items. So let's go ahead and hear from Tandoori Oven. Sam, can you give us, before we hear from the owners, can you just give us the brief details on this violation?
Yes, as Commissioner Jacobson noted, this was a sale to a minor by a minor. So 2 serious offenses, plus a moderate with an untrained server. We, in the settlement agreement, had $1,000 fine on the sale to a minor, $1,000 fine on the sale by a minor. And because of these 2 serious charges, we felt a 5-day suspension was warranted.
Thank you, Sam. Any questions for Sam before we hear from the owner? Okay, I think that I saw someone from Tandoori Oven was online. Can you explain to us what's going on with this, how this happened, and what you're doing to ensure that it never happens again?
Good morning, commissioners. Actually, we had a server who's underage and he accidentally checked ID. He usually doesn't do that. I don't know why he did it. It's just, he said he didn't have enough sleep last night, and that's one of the reasons that he did, I don't know, he blanked out for a second. We do have our other servers, we have a couple underage servers who, that serve, but they don't check ID or anything. Whoever needs an alcohol order, we always have over 21, whoever's legal age goes and checks IDs and serves it. But he checked it and he told another server that it's good. And then I don't know why he brought it out, and it just, something happened that day. And then we were really sorry. We always, happy to, we're always good to follow rules and laws. But that was it was his bad. He's a student at Utah State, and I don't know what's going on with him that day. So, but we are rectifying it. And I made a statement to them, make sure that they do, follow what we always tell them. And we do have an iPad, a computer system that they do put their IDs in there, so it'll tell them if they're underage or not. And he didn't do that either that day either. So it just was a complete mess, and it was really. We apologize for that. So,
Sir, can you state your name for the record? I'm sorry, I didn't ask you that before.
my name is Mohit, Mohit, and the last name is Aurora.
Thank you. Any questions for Mr. Aurora? I think you, Mr. Aurora, you understand the gravity of this offense. We
Yes,
can't
ma'am.
see this again.
Yeah,
This is not for you specifically, just generally, for everyone we see on this list. We've been doing some work to look at, our violations and the penalties for those violations. I appreciate Commissioner Jacobson has taken the lead on that work, and also the staff we've requested some research by the staff to see what other states are doing. It's terrible to come down with penalties, but sometimes when we're seeing these things happen again and again, it starts to make us question whether or not the penalties are severe enough. And in some cases, maybe they're not. And in some cases, maybe they're too severe, depending on what we're looking at. But it's really important that everyone understand the commission takes these things very seriously. And we don't want to see them show up on our list to begin with. And when they show up as repeat, it's a real problem. And when there are minors involved, underage people being served, it's just a real, again, we mentioned this before, and I know that Mr. Aurora, again, this is not for you specifically, but for you and those others on this list. And I realize it's a restaurant license, but we're at the point where we're in severe scarcity of bar licenses, and we're very close to severe scarcity of restaurant licenses. And so when we have restaurants who are serving underage people, and then we have restaurants in line who have very tight management schemes in place where these things wouldn't happen, but they're not able to get a license, it's a real problem. So just understand what we're operating with and why we're looking to potentially make some changes to our penalty schedule. Mr. Aurora, thank you for letting me kind of speak more generally to this issue during your time. Sounds like there's not any more questions. Commissioner Orton, you had asked for this one. Did you have any specific questions here?
Yes, I had my hand up, but you probably couldn't see it.
No, we don't see it. Thank you.
Okay, good to know. So I just wanted to reiterate what you said about the special concerns we have about this affecting minors, because these are serious offenses. And as the owner manager, I hope that you will take extra effort to make sure that your minor employees are not put in a position where they can make this kind of mistake, because it has pretty severe consequences for, an underage person. And I just wanted to reiterate the fact that my particular concern is for your underage employees who are being put in a situation where they could even make this mistake.
Yes, ma'am. I'm taking an extra effort, and I've been telling them, making sure we're double checking everything right now. I made a new rule. Anybody who brings, checks ID, they need to bring to us, to whoever the managers on duty that day, and then they'll double check, and then we'll serve the beer. That's the new rule I've implemented since then. So
Good to know. I appreciate that.
we appreciate you.
Chair, I would make a motion that we approve the settlement with Tandoori Oven and move on to the next item.
Great, thank you. We have a motion to approve by Commissioner Tui. Is there a second to that motion? All right, seconded by Commissioner Terrazon. Is there discussion? All right, Vicky, will you help us with the roll call vote, please?
Chair Tenert,
Aye.
Commissioner Tui,
Aye.
Commissioner Randall, Commissioner Terrazon, Commissioner Orton,
Aye.
Commissioner Jacobson.
Aye.
All right, thank you. The next item, if we have it correct, and again, I'm just going to apologize for getting this all confused because there's so many of them. I believe that we have held off number 9, Sakura Japanese Steak and Sushi Bar and Price. Sam, can you give us the details on this one before we ask the owner to speak?
Yes, to reiterate what Commissioner Orton noted, I believe this was the owner, if I remember correctly, and he was very aggressive and verbally abusive to the UHP trooper. Followed him out to the car, and because of this behavior on this serious offense of a sell to a minor and an untrained server, we felt a 10-day suspension was necessary, and he agreed to that. And the fine of the $200 on the untrained server. And again, it's going to be a 10-day suspension. We have the dates listed on there.
All right, thank you, Sam. I mean, I just don't know where the logic is to do that. And again, I appreciate that going on the record, and now that it's actually documented in the materials for this particular violation, it's shocking to me that this would be the type of treatment that would happen. I would very much like to hear from the owners of the Steak and Sushi Bar, of the Sakura's Japanese Steak and Sushi Bar. Are they here or online?
Commissioner, if I may, I just learned this morning, I've not had any personal interaction with this licensee, so I was unaware. There is a language barrier issue that Aaron Hinkle's been communicating with them through use of an interpreter that's an employee. Again, we would have arranged for such had I known, but I was not aware. I apologize.
Okay, thank you. Commissioners, I'm not sure how you want to handle this one. We could delay next month, given Commissioner Jacobson, I just saw you put your hand up. I'll just come to you in just 1 minute. I think that we could delay until next month. We could also approve, right, and ask for some more detail.
Commissioner?
Oh, Sam, go ahead. Yes.
Sorry, I just got a text that there is somebody online, Sherry, who would be able to work through this.
Okay, that's excellent. I think we would like to hear from her. Commissioner Jacobson, I'm going to go to you, and then let's go to Sherry.
I just assume let's hear from Sherry first, and then I'd like to address an issue here.
Great, thank you. Is she actually logged in right now? Let's go ahead. Let's go to the next item, then come back to this one. Will we try to get the representative online? So then the remaining item that we pulled off was Buffalo Wild Wings in Logan. Sam, can you provide the details on this one?
Yes, Commissioner. Again, this is a second violation in the last, it has been quite recent. I don't have the exact date here, but because it's a second violation, we proposed a $3,000 fine plus costs plus 10-day suspension of sales of alcohol and service, and violation for every employee, violation training for every employee. There's quite an extensive list, and they have to have that completed, I believe, by January 20th, if I remember the date.
Great. Thank you. Do we have a representative of Buffalo Wild Wings here that can address the commission? Tanner, this feels a little bit like Groundhog Day.
Good morning, Commissioners. Tanner Strickland Leonard, represent Buffalo Wild Wings, not the employee. He has been terminated.
I'm Kurt Torres, District Manager for Utah and Idaho with Buffalo Wild Wings.
Great, thank you. Mr. Torres, I just have a question for you because this is something recent that we've seen with Buffalo Wild Wings. Is this penalty that we're imposing sufficient enough to make sure that we don't see you back here again?
I believe that it is. I've taken this very seriously and implemented additional policies to help prevent this from ever happening again in the future.
Can you share a couple of those policies with us?
Absolutely. Just to recap, at the time of the violation, it was a policy within the entire state of Utah that every vertical ID needed to be double verified by the manager on duty. What we found with this violation was that a team member is able to opt out of that policy without a manager necessarily being aware right away. And that resulted in the sale of alcohol to a minor. Immediately following that violation, I've escalated that policy. What we've done now is every ID, regardless of vertical or horizontal format, needs to be double verified by the manager on duty. The reason I've done this is it now gives my managers the ability to be walking through the restaurant and identify if alcohol is on a table. In the event that we see alcohol on a table and there was no double verification of that ID, that team member is immediately terminated. Furthermore, for me and my job, when I'm able to go into the building, if I'm able to identify that management team is not actively managing this policy, the manager on duty will be immediately terminated.
Thank you. Do we have any questions of the commission?
I've got a question. It seems like not with obviously there's been a repeat offense at the Logan location, but we've also had other issues with Buffalo Wild Wings. And I'm just wondering culturally what you're doing to address this, because it seems like we've been told several times that we're putting things in place to fix it. We're talking very seriously with our employees. We're doing extra trainings, yet we keep seeing you here. So can you elaborate on the culture and what you're doing to make sure that this doesn't happen? Because I'm concerned that it's the corporate culture that is allowing this to happen.
Absolutely. Yeah, so I'm not the only district manager in the state of Utah. I do have one counterpart. He has partnered with me on this entire culture of the identification process and how we're holding people accountable. We've also done this in Idaho and Wyoming in order to set, just how severe this is. What we are doing with our training is Serve Safe Alcohol is day one of training. We open up with any new hire. That is what we're doing on day one if you're working in the front of the house. So from the very beginning, we are setting that as a precedent. What we are also doing is we have a daily sign off with all of our team members. If you are working in the front of house before you're allowed to start your shift, you will get with the manager on duty. We will review the signs of intoxication that we're looking for, the acceptable forms of identification, and then also our ID policy that we do whenever we have any ID. So that is every single shift, AM and PM. If you work both shifts, you have to go through it twice. Again, we've done that through the entire state of Utah, as well as the Idaho market and Wyoming.
I would like to note that that was very voluntary. There have been no violations in Idaho or Wyoming.
I care.
Generally, culture wise, yes.
Right, Angela?
I just wanted to point out, Commissioners, that they did pass a cub inspection this month at this location. So that is a
Thank you.
positive.
Okay. Okay, great. And that actually is a good kind of reminder that we will hear about the good things that are happening in our state. And thank you for that. That makes me feel a lot better. Commissioner Orton, I can't actually, just because of the way our virtual meeting's working, I can't actually see you right now. Did you have any questions?
I didn't have any additional questions for them. I just feel like it is kind of the same old. We just can't continue to have these sorts of violations.
Yeah.
I mean, I love seeing all of our licensees and our community members, but I would prefer not to talk to you under these circumstances. So I just, I share the previous commissioner's concerns about the fact that we keep hearing that all of these things are being put into place, but it doesn't seem to be working. So I I don't know what else to do. I would like to hear from, I would like to hear from any other commissioners who have concerns, because I'm really torn on a couple of these, whether to even vote, on the consent of these particular, I don't feel like we have the information from our licensees, from Buffalo Wild Wings in this particular instance, to make me feel really comfortable that they have resolved the issues that Commissioner Tui very eloquently laid out earlier. So.
Thank you, Commissioner. I have a question. So I like what you told me about policy, like the policy you're implementing, and I really like that we had a cub going to that location. But you meant, and I like immediate termination, right? It shows how serious you are. Have you terminated anyone for this policy, violating this policy in any of the states that are now following it?
Since the November 3rd violation, there has not been an instance where we've needed to terminate somebody.
Okay, thank you.
If I may.
Yeah, go ahead, Commissioner Jacobson.
Yeah, I would second what Commissioner Orton is expressing, is with some of these chains, shall we say, or multi-location places, we're getting over and over again a story about I'm sorry, and we're putting things into place. But this keeps coming back. And one of the things that I was told when I first joined the commission now almost 6 years ago was you're going to have people come in and just beg for forgiveness and then want to go on with the way they are. Yeah, they may have passed this one cub particular situation, but the fact that this situation did occur, and it has occurred in the past and in some of their other locations, I feel like Commissioner Orton, I feel like we're kind of getting to the end of the line here. And I'm wondering if one of the things we should consider is the fact that if this does happen to another Buffalo Wild Wings in the state of Utah, that we seriously look at actually holding an OSC on it, and not just merely accepting a couple $1,000 from a company that makes that in half an hour and dealing with that. So that's just my feeling on it, is we're getting quote unquote buffaloed a little bit about some of these I'm sorry's, and these things keep happening over and over again.
I agree 100%. And that's exactly how I feel. And I love seeing your faces month after month. I don't want to see you up at the podium trying to explain how another violation took place. So I would concur with Commissioner Jacobson's sentiments.
Thank you, commissioners. May I have a brief moment?
Sure.
I wanted to say, when we've spoken before about this earlier in the commission meeting, we talked about the violation grid and changing that violation grid. It's there. The legislators have said, these are the statutes, and then we have the administrative rules that lays it all out. That would be a good thing to revisit. I'd be happy to work on that. We work with the Attorney General's office to lay out these fines, and they are substantial and they are a business hardship, and it's been agreed with the state. So we would really appreciate being able to work with that going forward. And just wanted to correct, we have had the one termination under these policies. This employee was terminated. So other than that.
Thank you.
Ms. Chair, I'd like to make a motion that we approve the settlement agreement for Buffalo Wild Wings in Logan. And then I have a comment to the motion after.
Thank you, Commissioner Tui. Do you mind, let me propose a little addition to that motion. In addition, if you would consider it, in addition to approving the settlement, I would ask that staff, if in the very rare circumstance that we actually see a Buffalo Wild Wings violation pop again, that staff work with the commission prior to determining any sort of settlement, and it, just coming for us to deal with and I know we had a little bit of time to look at this one in the last couple of days, but that we have enough notice to really dig into this if Buffalo Wild Wings pops again. Would you be okay with that? Sam saying it's okay legally, and Commissioner, are you okay with that being part of the motion? Okay. All right, so we'd be looking for a second then to that motion.
I'll second.
All right, seconded by Commissioner Orton. Discussion to the motion.
The comment that I wanted to make to the motion and to the friendly amendment was that I understand that each individual location is licensed separately. So we would have to explore with our council what our legal options would be in addressing, violations at different locations. But I'm fully committed to digging in and working on that because I don't want to see Buffalo Wild Wings back here again. And I have no doubt, you say $3,000 is a hardship, but it's probably less than the revenue that you're going to lose from not being able to serve alcohol for 10 days. So I think there are options that the commission could explore to make this even worse. But I want to say the worst thing probably is you getting one more violation and we will not hesitate to revoke the license. So I hate singling you out and digging in. It just seems like this is something that could be fixed and it's just not happening for whatever reason. So you just need to double down on the cultural aspect of working with your employees and managers to really, really fix the problem. So that's my comment.
Great. No, thank you. Good comment. Do any of the other commissioners have any discussion on the motion before we go to a vote? And those of you online, just speak up if you do. Okay. Vicky, can you help us with a roll call vote?
Yes. Chair Tenard. Commissioner Tui. Commissioner Randall. Commissioner Terrazon. Commissioner Orton.
Aye.
Commissioner Jacobson.
Aye.
All right, thank you. All right, thank you.
Thank you, commissioners.
Thank you.
Let's go back to Sakura Japanese Steak and Sushi Bar. I imagine that we have a representative now available to speak to us.
Commissioner, Ms. Hinkle has been informing me that Sherry Wang, who has provided translation for her before, had difficulty figuring out how to unmute, et cetera. So I believe Aaron has Ms. Wang on a phone call with her, meaning Aaron, and she could speak through the speaker and Aaron's phone to talk to you all. Unfortunately, there's not an owner or a manager. Ms. Wang is the accountant, although she claims she can answer questions.
Yeah, yeah, let's go ahead. I mean, what happens? So if we just go ahead and delay this until the next meeting, what is the impact on our staff of doing that? And what is the impact on this establishment of doing that? And I guess I'd look to you, Angela, to help us understand.
You can remove that if you would like, and we will continue to work with them. The impact to the licensee is that it just delays the adjudication date by 1 month, which means if they were to want to have another license or something else, that 3-month period from adjudication would start January as opposed to this month.
I don't think we have to actually take any formal action on that, but I would just ask, do any of the commissioners have any concern with delaying this one until next month?
I want to just remind staff that if we have a language issue, we really, really need to plan ahead of time for dealing with that in commission meetings, because that does have an impact on licensees. But the mitigating factors here, considering the severity of this specific violation, I'm okay putting it off a month.
I'm okay as well.
Great. All
I
right.
definitely want to hear from the owners.
Okay. All right. And then I'll just remind commissioners that as we handle these consent calendars and as they start to get longer again, it to the best of our ability, and I think giving us like a little bit more breathing room with having our commission meetings on Thursday will help a little bit here, but the best of our ability, if we can work ahead of time to identify those items that we want to dig into a little bit further in the meetings, if we can do that ahead of time as we can, let's look to doing that in the new year. But thank you to everyone for all the due diligence. I hope that the public and the licensees understand that we really are doing our homework on these things, and that's not, not taking them lightly. Well, so on that note, let's flip over to the more positive story, that we do have some recognitions on those licensees that have passed our CUB inspections. Director Clayson?
Yes, we have 93 this month that passed their inspections. So again, this is sort of the other side of that coin from the violations. These are operators that have been found to be operating safely in respect to the laws here in the state of Utah. As you look at this list, and of course, there's a copy in each of your packets, in addition to what's being shown on the screen, all over the state, from Ogden, American Fork, Roy, Salt Lake City. And it encompasses a lot of different license types. We've got bowling alleys and restaurants, buffets, lounges, fraternal organizations. I think it's important to note, having just had that conversation about Buffalo Wild Wings, we actually have 3 Buffalo Wild Wings in this list of 93 that passed inspections, all different locations. So we've got Ogden, Sandy, and Logan location, which passed their inspection. So, I do know, training is difficult, staffing is very difficult with our awesome low unemployment numbers here in the state of Utah. Obviously, what's still paramount and very important is that that we're able to maintain safety standards here in the state of Utah, whether it's a bar, a restaurant, or a fraternal organization. And you all as a body are very committed to that. So I would just like to say thank you and congratulations to all 93 of these licensees that passed their inspections. Thank you for your great work and your attention to this.
Great. Thank you so much. And it really, to see 93 versus the 19, we've got to get that 19 lower, but to see 93 definitely is a positive note. And then also seeing that some of those that had violations actually have passed the inspections is very helpful. So thank you for that. Angela, we need to take some action on license renewals. Can you talk us through that?
Yes, good morning again, commissioners. The current renewal cycle that ends December 31st this year involves the following licenses or permits: public service permits, local industry representatives, manufacturing, which would be distilleries, breweries, and wineries, liquor warehouse, beer wholesalers, and brewers located outside of Utah. Of the 309 licenses or permits at issue, all but 35 have renewed. The remaining 274 are ready for your approval.
Hey, Director Clayson.
Just wanted to underscore something and make one comment that the liquor warehouse and manufacturer applications have an effective date of January 1st, 2023.
Thank you for that clarification. Are there any questions on these renewals? If not, I'd be looking for a motion.
I'll make a motion that we approve all of the renewals that Angela has outlined for the commission.
Thank you, Commissioner Tui. Is there a second? Seconded
I'll
by
second.
Commissioner Terrazon. Any discussion to the motion? Vicky, let's do the roll call vote.
Chair Tenert,
Aye.
Commissioner Tui, Commissioner Randall, Commissioner Terrazon, Commissioner Orton,
Aye.
Commissioner Jacobson.
Aye.
Right, thank you. Moving on, we've got a couple of change of location requests. Angela, can you share the first item with us?
Don't you have extended closures first?
Oh, I'm so sorry. Look at me just trying to just jump through these items. Let's go ahead and do our extended closure request. Nicole.
Good morning, commissioners. Granny J's is requesting an extended closure until March of 2023. Jana Olson, who's one of the owner, is on the line if you have any question for her.
Nicole, I'm trying, I know that we've actually talked about this one before. What is the reason for the closure again?
It's health issue that I cannot disclose.
Okay, thank you. Are there any questions of the commission on this one? Probably just be looking for a motion unless you'd like to speak to the licensee. Okay, yeah, actually, so Commissioner Tui is recommending that we just go ahead and hear about both of them and then we can just approve them together potentially. Mike, can you share with us on WASO?
Good morning, commissioners. Happy holidays. I'm happy to announce that Wausau was able to open yesterday, so we are going to strike them from the agenda today.
All right. That's great news. And I just want to say thank you to Wausau. We had a great briefing by them and appreciate you keeping close with our compliance staff and also keeping the commission abreast of what was happening at your location. So that's great news. Thank you, Mike. So let's go back to Granny J's. I would be looking for a motion unless anyone would like to hear from the licensee.
No, I'll make the motion that we approve the extended closure request.
Thanks, Commissioner Tui. Is there a second?
I'll second.
We'll give that second to Commissioner Orton. Any discussion to that motion? All right, Vicky?
Chair Tenert,
Aye.
Commissioner Tui, Commissioner Randall, Commissioner Terrazon, Commissioner Orton,
Aye.
Commissioner Jacobson.
Aye.
Thank you. We'll roll that. Motion has passed. Next, I was getting ahead of myself trying to cruise this through this agenda. Next, we're going to look at a couple of or three change of location requests. Angela, can you share the first one with us, please?
Yes, thank you, Commissioner. Item 13A, About Time Pub and Grub will be doing business as Real Bar and Grill, moving from the address in Park City to 9200 South State Street in Sandy. This application is complete and meets statutory requirements. I would note that this morning I received an email from Tim Ryan regarding this matter. I'm simply going to read his email verbatim into the record so that we have that, and then I have a reply. The email starts, quote, regarding today's agenda item, change of location request for About Time Pub and Grub, Real Bar and Grill. Would you please note for the commission that About Time Franchising LLC does not approve of this request and will seek to enforce our franchise agreement rights with KJBT LLC. Our franchisor rights may not be something that the commission considers when approving a change of location request received from a licensee, but we would appreciate the file being noted, end quote. As Mr. Ryan correctly noted at the end of his email, the franchisor-franchisee relationship is not within the commission's jurisdiction to consider. That's a civil matter that will need to be addressed in district court. What is properly before you today is the change of location request, and it does meet statutory requirements.
Thank you, Angela. Are there any questions on this change of location request item? All right, seeing none, let's go ahead and see if we can't handle all of these in one action. Craig, you're going to share, can you share details on Happy Camper Deli with us?
Yes, thank you. Good morning, commissioners. Happy Camper Deli has submitted a change of location request from the Glendale Golf Course here in Salt Lake City to 2525 Taylorsville Boulevard, which is the Mid-Valley Performing Arts Center. The application or the license is conditional, otherwise it does meet the statutory requirements.
Okay, thank you, Sam, or Craig, I'm sorry. Sam. Craig. Are there any questions of Craig on this item? Okay. All right, and Kim, could you share details on Shaka Island Senorita's Cantina?
Good morning, commissioners. Shaka Island Bar is requesting a change of location from 2000 North, 300 West in Spanish Fork to 533 South, 1750 West, Suite D4 in Springville. They're going to change their name to Senoritas. The license will be conditional, otherwise all statutory requirements are met.
Are there any questions of the commission for Kim on this item? Okay, thank you. Thank you all for sharing the information with us. Be looking for a motion, seeing that there were no questions.
I'll make a motion that we approve all three change of location requests.
Thank you, Commissioner Tuidu. Is there a second to the motion? Seconded by Commissioner Terrazon. Thank you. Any discussion?
Madam
Vicky?
Chair,
Oh, yeah, go ahead, Commissioner Jacobson.
I just would want to ask staff if it's possible at all for us to track a situation. Now, I'm not accusing anybody of anything, don't get me wrong, but I'm just looking at two bar licenses, basically changing locations. If someone comes in now, say 6 months down the road or 4 months down the road, and they now want to sell their business, shall we say, at the same location, and they want to sell 100% of their business or even 51% of their business, are we going to be able to, at that point in time, flag the fact that the license was moved from location A to location B?
Commissioner Jacobson, that's a good point. Thank you. So can we just make sure that you can staff that as we're looking at these change of ownerships, if they're taking place in these types of shortly after change of location requests, can you please make sure that you're bringing that to our attention as we consider them?
Sure, that is tracked in the database. We would be able to bring that to
Okay.
your attention. I think though the concern might be the opposite, right? If there's a change of location and, excuse me, a change of ownership and then a change of location, because the statute requires with a change of ownership that you must operate at the current location before you move. There is not the opposite requirement in statute.
Thank you. Thank you. All right. We have a motion that's ready to be voted on. Vicky, can you help us?
Chair Tenard,
Aye.
Commissioner Tui, Commissioner Randall, Commissioner Terrazon, Commissioner Orton,
Aye.
Commissioner Jacobson.
Aye.
Okay, thank you. We'll rule that motion is passed and those change of location requests are approved by the commission. Next, Stephanie, you've got a couple of off-premise beer retailer applicants. Let's handle the change of ownerships first.
Okay, good morning. The first applicant, 7-Eleven in Sandy, is no longer conditional. I just received the business license this morning, and the applicant meets statutory requirements. Applicant number 2, 7-Eleven in Layton, is still conditional and meets statutory requirements. Applicant number 3, Fast Stop 1105 in Tremonton, is complete and meets statutory requirements. Applicant number 4, Fast Stop in Meadow, is conditional and meets statutory requirements. Applicant number 6, Jags Fuel 1 in Ogden, is complete and meets statutory requirements. Applicant number 6, Jags Fuel 2 in Ogden, is complete and meets statutory requirements. If you have any questions, I would be happy to answer them.
Great, thank you. Are there any questions on these change of ownerships?
I'll make a motion that we approve all 6 change of ownership requests with numbers 2 and 4 being conditional.
Thank you. Commissioner Tui, is there a second to that motion? Seconded by Commissioner Randall. Any discussion? Vicky, can you take the roll call?
Chair Tenard,
Aye.
Commissioner Tui, Commissioner Randall, Commissioner Terrazon, Commissioner Orton,
Aye.
Commissioner Jacobson.
Aye.
All right, well, I'll rule that that motion is passed and those change of ownerships are approved. Stephanie, several new applicants to share with us.
Yes, the first new applicant is Maverick in Helper. That applicant is complete and meets statutory requirements. Applicant number 2, Camus Sinclair, is complete and meets statutory requirements. Applicant number 3, Holiday Oil in Saratoga Springs, is conditional and meets statutory requirements. Applicant number 4, Leonardo's Market in Park City, is complete and meets statutory requirements. Applicant number 5, 6 Sailor Cider in Salt Lake City, is complete and meets statutory requirements. Applicant number 6, Come and Go Salt Lake City, is conditional and meets statutory requirements. Applicant number 7, Gracias Market in Sandy, is conditional and meets statutory requirements.
Thank you, Stephanie. Are there any questions?
I'll make a motion that we approve the new applicants for off-premise beer retailers, items 1 through 7, with items 3, 6, and 7 being conditional.
Thank you, Commissioner Tui. Is there a second to that motion? Seconded by Commissioner Randall. Any discussion? All right, Vicky?
Chair Tenard,
Aye.
Commissioner Tui, Commissioner Randall, Commissioner Terrazon, Commissioner Orton,
Aye.
Commissioner Jacobson.
Aye.
Thank you. We'll move that, I'll move that motion is passed and those new applicants are approved by the commission. Corey, you have a couple of special use permit applications for us to deliberate on.
Yes, good morning, commissioners. The first 2, Arlington Scientific in Springville, Alpha Tech Research Corp. and American Fork are both scientific. The second two, Botanicals by Design and Clearfield, Wholesome Goods and Centerville are both industrial manufacturing. All premise inspections have been completed. We did verify that they have lockable storage and all those. And they all meet statutory requirements. If there's more information you desire, I can give that to you as well.
Thank you, Corey. Are there any questions on these applications?
I'll make a motion that we approve items A through D for special use permits.
Okay, thank you, Commissioner Tui. Is there a second to her motion?
Second.
Seconded by Commissioner Terrazon. Thank you. Any discussion? Vicky, can you do the roll call for us, please?
Chair Tenard,
Aye.
Commissioner Tui,
Aye.
Commissioner Randall, Commissioner Terrazon, Commissioner Orton,
Aye.
Commissioner Jacobson.
Aye.
Thank you. Well, I will rule that that motion passes and those special use permit applications are approved by the commission. Steve, we have a liquor warehouse application.
Good morning, commissioners. Yes, we do have one liquor warehouse applicant on today's agenda. We've got Canary Cocktails. Their application is complete and they do meet statutory requirements. This is a license that will take effect on January 1st. The applicant is present if you have any questions that you would like to ask him.
All right, thank you, Steve. Any questions for Steve or the applicant?
Motion that we approve the application from Canary Cocktails for a liquor warehouse.
All right, thank you, Commissioner Tui. Is there a second to that motion? Okay, thank you. Seconded by Commissioner Terrazon. Any discussion? Vicky?
Chair Tenard,
Aye.
Commissioner Tui, Commissioner Randall, Commissioner Terrazon, Commissioner Orton,
Aye.
Commissioner Jacobson.
Aye.
All right, thank you. The liquor warehouse application for Canary Cocktails has been approved. Jeff, we've got two manufacturer applications to consider.
Good morning, commissioners. Well, as Mike or as Stephen stated, both these licenses will not go into effect until January 1st. The first one is Second Summit Hard Cider. They will be a manufacturing winery, and the second one is Simplicity Cocktails. They are a manufacturing distillery. Applications are complete and meet statutory requirements.
Thank you, Jeff. Are there any questions on these manufacturer applications? If not, or go ahead, Commissioner.
Oh, no. I was just gonna make a motion to approve.
Well, we'd be looking for that motion, Commissioner Randall.
I'll make the motion to approve items A and B for manufacturer applications.
Thank you. Is there a second to the motion?
Second.
All right, seconded by Commissioner Terrazon. Thank you. Any discussion to the motion? All right, Vicky?
Chair Tenard,
Aye.
Commissioner Tui, Commissioner Randall, Commissioner Terrazon, Commissioner Orton,
Aye.
Commissioner Jacobson.
Aye.
Great, thank you. Those manufacturer applications have been approved by the commission. Next, we have our license applications. Looks like we've got, let's go ahead and hear about the full change of ownership applications from Corey.
Good morning again, commissioners. We have 5 full changes of ownership and 4 51% or more ownership changes to existing entities. The first one, Lamplight Lounge, is a bar license in Ogden, is changing ownership from Super Groceries, Inc. to Lamplight Bar LLC. No IMA is required as new owner will be remodeling and no sales will take place until final inspection is complete. The application meets all statutory requirements for a change of ownership. The Rib and Chop House, a full restaurant license in St. George, is changing ownership from FRG SGU LLC to FRG St. George LLC. An IMA is in place until a change of ownership is approved by the commission. The approval is not to occur before the sale closing of January 3rd, 2023. The application is no longer conditional for a business license. The applicant meets all statutory requirements. El Chubasco, a beer-only restaurant license in Park City, is changing ownership from Park City Amigos Incorporated to Tomahawk Restaurant Group LLC. An IMA is in place until a change of ownership is approved by the commission, and the applicant is no longer conditional for business license. The application meets all statutory requirements. The Yes Hell, a bar license in Ogden, is changing ownership from Balcony 2 to Zalisco LLC and changing the DBA to Zalisco as well. The current owner will remain in operations until the change of ownership is approved by the commission and the application is no longer conditional for business license. The application meets all statutory requirements. The Ice House, a bar licensee in Murray, is changing ownership from Sedcat LLC to Ice House Bar LLC. An IMA is in place until the change of ownership is approved by the commission. The approval is not to occur before the sale closing date of January 1st, 2023. The application is no longer conditional for a business license. The applicant meets all statutory requirements.
Thank you, Corey. Let's handle those full change of ownership applications first before moving on to the partial. Any questions from the commission for those, for Corey on those? Not, I'd be looking for a motion to approve.
So moved.
Right, move for approval by Commissioner Tui. Is there a second? Seconded by Commissioner Randall. Any discussion to that motion? Vicky?
Chair Tenert.
Aye.
Commissioner Tui, Commissioner Randall, Commissioner Terrazan, Commissioner Orton,
Aye.
Commissioner Jacobson.
Aye.
Great, thank you. Those full change of ownership applications have been approved by the commission. Corey, the partial 51% change of ownership entities, can you share those with us, please?
Yes, we need to strike number 1, brick and mortar restaurant LLC. Then we have Taqueria 27 in Holiday, Taqueria 27 downtown, Taqueria 27 in Lehigh, and Taqueria 27 at Fashion Place Mall. All of those are good to go. The only one that is not conditional is the Taqueria in Lehigh. They're no longer conditional. I received their business license. They all meet statutory requirements.
Thank you, Corey. Any questions of the commission on those? All right, if not, I'd be looking for a motion.
So moved.
All right, Commissioner Tui has moved to approve these change of ownership applications. Is there a second to that motion? Second. Okay, seconded by Commissioner Terrazan. Any discussion? All right.
I just want to note a detail.
Okay.
Sorry, Chair Tenor.
Yeah, go ahead.
For speaking out of turn.
No, no,
There's
go
a,
ahead.
Number 5 in the packet, change of ownership under the Ice House. I think we have a typo. January 1st, it says 2022. It should be 2023. And on number 2 as well, January 3rd, 2022, it should be obviously 2023. So before an official vote took place, we just want to make sure that those
Great.
typos were amended and that indeed was correct.
Thank you. So the votes that we're taking will be on the correct dates in the future. Thank you. Thank you for making those corrections. All right, I think we're ready to vote. Vicky?
Chair Tenert.
Aye.
Commissioner Tui, Commissioner Randall, Commissioner Terrazan, Commissioner Orton,
Aye.
Commissioner Jacobson.
Aye.
All right, we'll move that those change of ownerships have been approved by the commission. Oh, our favorite item of the day. So I understand that we have actually 1 bar license available. Is that correct, Director Clayson?
That is correct.
Okay, thank you. Mike, take us through our list of applicants.
Morning again, commissioners. So we have 8 applicants this month, 2 of which are ready to operate. West Side Tavern in Salt Lake City is currently operating under a winter seasonal bar license. They're hoping to get a full year bar license. We have Fisher Brewing, who is currently operating under a tavern license. We have the remaining 6 are projected future openings. All of them are conditional, except for Proper Brewing Moab Tap House in Moab. They are no longer conditional. We do have 1
full year license available, one winter seasonal license available. Due to our projected population increase, we are projected to get another license in February, one in May and one in July. Applications are complete and meet statutory requirements.
Great, thank you, Mike. Just to make sure I heard that correctly, after this one today, we have 3 additional coming our way this fiscal year. Well, actually not this fiscal year because we have 3 more coming between now and July. Is that what I'm hearing?
That is correct.
Okay. I would like to hear from West Side, Fisher, and then Bout Time and Proper, basically those that are currently operating and shortly telling us that they're shortly ready to operate. Before we go there, Commissioner Orton, you chair our compliance subcommittee that really digs into the details of these establishments. Was there a recommendation that came out of the committee or any insight or sentiment that you'd like to share?
There was not a recommendation, a consensus this month. I think that I think it'll be really important to hear from our applicants, but we don't have a consensus amongst our subcommittee members. Why don't we go ahead and hear from them, and then I can talk a little bit more about what our thought process is, and I'm sure Commissioner Tui and Commissioner Jacobson would like to speak on this as well.
Okay, perfect. Thank you. So let's go ahead and hear from the applicants. Westside Tavern, Fisher Brewing Company, Bout Time Pub and Grub in Bluffdale, and Proper Brewing Moab, Tap House in Moab. And you all know the drill very well. Please state your name and your affiliation before sharing with us kind of where you are in your ability to operate and why you're seeking the license. And so Westside Tavern, let's start with you first. Right. Yeah, so Westside Tavern is currently operating with the seasonal. They might be utilizing that seasonal really well right now and having not joined us. So we'll go ahead and hear from Fisher, please.
Good morning, commissioners. Thank you for this time. We are ready to utilize our bar license immediately. All of our infrastructure is in place. We're ready to go now, and we're ready to start capitalizing on the expanded product offerings that we would be able to serve this holiday season with our new bar license. Our current customer demand is high for our High Point beer. We are planning a seasonal release, a white IPA for Christmas. It'd be really nice to be able to serve that in-house. We have been workshopping a seasonal cocktail menu as well, and are getting more and more inquiries for gluten-free options, especially wine and cider. So,
Great, thank you. And just for the record, your name?
Tim Dwyer, I'm co-owner with Fisher Brewing.
We all know you, Mr. Dwyer, well, but thank you for stating that. Thank you for that update. Any questions for Mr. Dwyer? Okay, thank you. Oh yeah, go ahead, Commissioner Orton.
Oh, I was just going to say, I would like to have an update on your expanded space. And if you could remind us what your current, I know that you have outside seating with heating lamps that you also use, but is your indoor seating 100? Is that?
Correct, yeah.
And then your outside seating that is available when it's not frigid?
Sure. Yeah, we have another 65 seats outside.
And then your event space, can you give us an update on that construction?
Yeah, everything's going according to schedule there. We're looking to get certificate of occupancy in January and opening our expansion bar area sometime in February. And to that point, I mean, we are seeing a kind of a pain point because we're not able to book that, which we have built out as a private event space because we don't have the certainty of a liquor license, and almost all of the parties who are coming for weddings or other corporate events. All of them would like to see a full service offering, including liquor, wine and cocktails. So not having this license now is actually hurting our ability to book that space in the future. And I think that's a key thing that I wanted to impress upon the commission. We want to be able to book that space and start utilizing it as soon as it is open.
Thank you. Yeah, go ahead.
I have one point of clarification. Thank you for the letter. I appreciate the thoughtfulness and the photos in the letter. So you're working on two expansions. One's an event space and one's a bar space. Could you elaborate? Because it says one will open in January, one in February.
Sure, yeah, the certificate of occupancy will be for the whole building in January, and we're looking to open the whole space in February.
And just to be clear, you could put a license into operation now, though. It's not dependent on this additional space.
Yep, we've got our clickers, we've got our locked storage behind the bar, we've got our food prep area. We're totally ready to go today.
All right. Thank you, Mr. Dwyer.
Thank you.
Okay. About Time Pub and Grub, Bluffdale.
Good morning, Commissioners. Tim Ryan, About Time Pub and Grub. Thank you for hearing the applicants again today. I know you're getting a lot of rewind, repeat, and probably tired of it. So out in Bluffdale, we're so close. I provided the updated construction photos last week. Since then, our crews graciously worked all weekend long, and so we're like so close. I think if the meeting schedule hadn't been adjusted, I could probably be before you and say that we're ready to open. Our finished cabinetry is in, bar tops are in, equipment's being delivered. Our gas meter, and Commissioner Orton, what tripped us up last time, our electrical meter has been set. So we're just super close. For our location that I hope you'll continue to consider, as I know you do, is we are opening in Bluffdale, a city that has, I don't believe, ever had a liquor license of any kind, certainly not a bar license, an underserved and explosive growth area in our state, listed as in the top fastest growing communities in Utah. Our staffing, we have 2 managers, DABS, certified and compliant already, and our staff is training in other locations, just ready to be moved in the moment that we're good to go. This location should generate for the state of Utah slightly above 200,000 in annual sales tax receipts, and probably 250,000 annually in DABS purchases. We are also, my company stores are in their 8th year now, violation free. I'm very proud to say that we've worked hard for that. We've never missed a sales tax payment or a DABS payment or had any problems. We've got a solid operation, and we're looking forward to having another one soon. Any questions for me that I can answer?
Thank you, Mr. Ryan. Any questions?
I have a question, if I may.
Yeah, go ahead, Commissioner Jacobson.
Mr. Ryan, what I'm hearing you say is today you're not ready to open. Is that correct?
That's correct.
Thank you. Commissioner Jacobson, any other questions for Mr. Ryan?
Not at this time.
Okay, thank you. Thank you, Commissioner. Thank you. All right. Proper Brewing, Moab Tap House. And again, please state your name for the record.
Good morning, Commissioners and Chair. My name is Andrew Tendick. I'm a co-founder and president of Proper Brewing Company. So we've been on the bar license since last November. We've been working on a remodel of a space that we took over for about a year and a half, 2 years. We originally committed to the project, shortly into the pandemic, and back in August, we were here, unfortunately, because of a violation. And, we had, it was extremely disappointing and upsetting to myself and our management team and our staff. It's something, we obviously have, submitted a lot of information to you all. We updated to a 10-page RASP that is very thorough. We've updated a lot of policies and training. But I wanted to just kind of address this and acknowledge it right off the bat. Ultimately, we do take on the responsibility of serving alcohol in Utah and in our community, and we need to also take on the responsibility if we make a mistake. And so that's one thing I wanted to discuss. We did immediately terminate the staff involved. We have since terminated staff that we didn't feel were taking it seriously enough with some of our policy changes. We also terminated staff that didn't take it seriously enough to attend some of the trainings that we were requiring of our staff. So we have certainly shown that it's something that we again take very seriously. And briefly, our track record, we opened our first location in the Avenues in 2012. We had, prior to this violation, we had 54 years with our licenses combined of operating experience without a violation until this one. And it's something, when looking at, we're here for a bar license today. We do hold 3 bar licenses in our company, and we have roughly 20 years of operating bars without a violation. We've never had a violation at a bar establishment. And, ultimately, in addition to terminating staff, it's bigger than that. It's something that we have had numerous management meetings and spent a lot of time in addressing this, and it's bigger than that. And, for me personally, this isn't just a job. It's not just a career. This is my life. It's something that kept me up at night when this happened. And just want to impress upon the commission, how seriously we've taken it. We've had a longstanding working relationship with the DABS. I think our compliance officers can certainly vouch for, how dedicated we are to that. So, in moving forward, we are, again, we committed to this project in kind of the heart of the pandemic, and had an old friend from Moab reach out that he was shutting down his location because of, hardships with the pandemic, and went back and forth and decided to commit to it. Personally, I went to high school down in Moab. My parents live there. My sister and her husband and their children live there. So I'm very connected with the community down there and care a lot about it. We've already partnered in support of, the Youth Garden Project down there, the Moab Free Concert Series, the Moab Music Festival, the Community Rebuilds program down there, which is a team that's building affordable housing for Moab residents. So, prior to opening, we've already really, got our footprint in this community. As far as the bar that we're opening, we're really trying to bring something unique to Moab. I don't know if you guys had a chance to see some of the pictures that we submitted, but our establishment is, a place where, both residents and visitors can relax and enjoy craft beer and cocktails in more of a relaxed but sophisticated environment. We're focused on both craft beer and cocktails. We will have the largest selection of craft beer in Moab and one of the largest selections in the state, featuring local, beers from around the state, around the country, and around the world. We plan to host educational classes, pairing events, tap takeovers, and a variety of events to, do things to not only engage with the community, but also, for visitors to have, to have some fun educational events for our customers. In addition to that, we'll be focused on craft cocktails. Right now, there's really nowhere in Moab that you can go outside of like a hotel bar to, enjoy a rotating selection of craft cocktails. Our GM for Moab has over 25 years of experience in the industry, including 15 years in both Park City and Moab. He has an extensive background in cocktail development, and has developed our opening cocktail menu already, as well as bar management, including developing and overseeing the bar program most recently at the Element Hotel in Moab, which is a new hotel. Personally, he has never had a violation, nor have any of his establishments that he has overseen. And currently there's really kind of one true bar location in Moab. You know, mostly what you're finding is hotel bars. And, you know, we really, especially with the influx of tourism every year down there, it really is an underserved area down there. And, you know, obviously with Arches and Canyonlands, it's been part of the Mighty Five Parks campaign. Moab's a world-class destination for visitors. And, you know, we will provide a world-class experience, you know, that we believe will be on par or exceed the experience that, you know, the tourists that are visiting Moab, you know, can get in their home state or even their home country. You know, we think we're going to be a great place to wind down after a day of adventuring in Moab, to responsibly drink, you know, a little bit outside of the hustle and bustle of Main Street, or before you get, you know, around the bend in town. And, you know, we're surrounded by hotels and RV parks within walking distance. Moab is also instituting a free shuttle service starting this February that will connect out to Arches National Park and, you know, the hotels around our area and then to Main Street. So, you know, kind of providing additional opportunities to safely enjoy an alcoholic beverage at our establishment. You know, Moab used to be very seasonal. It is, you know, over the last 10 years or so, that's changed quite a bit. It's really becoming more of a year-round destination. You know, you still do see a little bit of a dip around this time, you know, December, January. You know, things really start kicking off in February, Valentine's Day weekend. There's now an ultra marathon the weekend of Valentine's Day. You know, in addition to that, you know, there's the film and movie industry in Moab is really seeing a revitalization. Kevin Costner signed on for multiple projects over the next handful of years in Moab, including one that's currently underway. So additional things that are contributing to more year-round business down there.
I think I really appreciate it. And I think we haven't really had the opportunity to hear a lot from you. And so I think you've done just a tremendous job of just trying to kind of give us some insight on what's happening in that location and what you're planning to do in that location. It's all very exciting. So thank you for sharing all of that with us. I see that you have a projected opening of December 30th, 2022. Can you kind of share with us that why you have that date? What if we were to grant a license today? I mean, like, would you be able to operate sooner than December 30th? Tell us what is kind of in the, like, between what needs to happen for you to open.
Sure. Yeah. So, you know, we did, as Mike pointed out, we did just get our business license this past Friday. You know, we've submitted our calibration certificate to the DABS for our bird system. So we're, you know, operationally, we're pretty well ready to go. You know, the biggest challenge there, you know, our GM's been on staff since the beginning of the summer, and, you know, has been conducting interviews over the last couple months and specifically the last couple weeks as we've gotten closer. You know, we have staff that we're ready to officially hire and bring on board. You know, with the process of getting a bar license in Utah, it's hard to, you know, commit to bringing staff on and not know if you're going to sit around paying an entire staff for 6 months, which isn't functional. You know, I mean, we've been paying rent and utilities and all of these other costs in addition to remodel costs down there. So, you know, so ultimately, really, the reason that we have that date out, we really, you know, we want to be able to celebrate the new year for sure and be open for that. It really comes down to, you know, getting training done and being able to say, okay, we have a license. Great. You guys are officially hired. We're starting our training process. We've got all of our training, you know, all of our training documents and standards for how, you know, where that will take place. Obviously with the Christmas holiday, that impacts it a little bit. And so that's why we've kind of given ourselves about, you know, a little bit of a leeway, you know, about 10 days to do that. You know, I think one thing that's important to point out with Moab, you know, originally we had hoped to be open in June when there was a lot of licenses available. And unfortunately we had some construction delays on our remodel. But you know, really right now is actually the perfect time for us to open because, you know, because it's a little bit slower. One, it allows our staff to, you know, not only go through our training process, but to be able to open and, you know, just kind of get comfortable before things get very busy down there. You know, opening March, April in Moab is, you're going 0 to 100. It's, things get very busy. And so getting an opportunity to get our staff really, really well up to speed before that hits is really important. Another potential issue there is that staffing down in Moab, obviously there's a much more limited pool of staff than there are up in the city. And again, this is kind of that little bit of a break before the spring season hits. And once the spring season is really here in earnest and tourists are pouring in, it can be very difficult to fill out an entire staff for a new place. And so, for us right now, we have an opportunity to, we have a lot, there's a lot of excitement down in Moab about us opening. We have a lot of potential staff that are excited and ready to go.
Okay, thank you. Any questions for this applicant?
So just to clarify, there's no inspections or anything else that needs to be passed?
Let's see. For the bar, no, there's not. Yeah.
You said you had your business license.
Yes, correct.
Thank you. All right, thank you very much. Appreciate it. Go ahead and have a seat. Commissioner Orton, why don't I just go back to you with any insight you'd like to share after hearing, and then we'll open this up to the full commission for some deliberation.
Okay, so we of course went through all of the various licensee or all the various applicants and paid special attention to who was ready to open, who was almost ready to open, where they're located, what their seating is, all the bells and whistles. And at the end of the day, I feel really strongly, and I've said this time and again in our meetings, I don't like having licenses sitting on the table waiting, especially during the busiest time of the year. And so my personal recommendation, my personal hope was that we would give a license to Fisher Beer. The main reason I feel strongly about Fisher is even though they are in Salt Lake City, and I apologize, I have an adorable dog over here scratching at the door to go out. And so I just didn't want.
It's okay. We wouldn't have known if you didn't say anything. No problem.
Okay, good to know because it's very loud on my end. But anyway, I just wanted to, I feel like we ought to be putting our licenses to work, and especially during the busiest time of the year for hospitality. And I also feel that I'm very concerned that we're asking our applicants to consider taking tavern licenses, and we aren't being very quick and expedient about remembering that they are still waiting, that they're over here, hoping to be able to sell their High Point beers that they are producing themselves. And they do have a huge community following that is waiting to be able to have special events where they can serve champagne and wine and things that they're not currently able to serve under a tavern license. And when I look at the distribution, when I look at Fisher Beer's readiness, when I look at the distribution of what they would be able to do with the license versus what might happen either if we just sit it on the table and wait for another month or two, or if we go ahead and give it to someone who's not ready. I just see so much, I see so much potential for that license to be put to its best and highest use during the holiday season with Fisher. And so I'm very uncomfortable holding it. I know that Commissioner Jacobson has a different point of view, and I am going to let him speak to his point of view.
Thank you, Commissioner Orton. Commissioner Jacobson, did you want to share?
Well, yeah, I can right now if you'd like, but we had a robust discussion, and I say that because I want everyone to know I truly respect Commissioner Orton and her views. And it's just you get two people that maybe analyze things a little differently. But part of I think one of the crux of our disagreement about where, if any place, the license should go rests around what Fisher could do between now and the next commission meeting. And that is that since New Year's Eve is a special time, they could get a special event permit that would cover them for the 72-hour period. There's also, if they want to do something over Dr. King's birthday weekend, they could do that with a special event permit to get us there. We already have a Band-Aid in place for West Side Tavern with the seasonal. And so this, of course, is caused in not just in part, but really probably is caused by the fact that we don't have a lot of bar licenses during the course of the year to give out. But see, when I look at the list here, and I thank Proper for their excellent presentation, but when I had made some notes after our committee meeting, and I think this is kind of what's important, is first of all, Fisher is still engaged in construction. And so when people are engaged in construction, we do not normally give a license until they're absolutely ready to go. If the criteria were changed here, then in effect, about time, which, and I did ask Mr. Ryan the question, are you ready to go? And of course, the reason for that is because Fisher and About Time are both in the same category with regard to the ongoing construction that they do have that would ultimately give them a license. And yet, of course, we don't have that issue with Proper, as they are, in fact, ready to go. But also, I think we have to look at some of the other issues that face us in connection with this. And that is, first of all, that Proper is in an area which we generally call rural Utah, and that has given them normally preference. About Time is in an area that does not have a bar at this point in time. And so that, of course, would give them a preference. And they're just, as Mr. Ryan put it, if we would have held our meeting next week, not only would I have been present, but maybe Mr. Ryan would be standing there and telling us, yes, I've got all my employees and I'm ready to go. So when I look at all this, I see a situation that next month we won't have a license if we issue one this month, which would mean that About Time, which has been on our calendar for 18 months, wouldn't get a license next month. It also means that if we went to Fisher, Proper Brewing would not get a license, and they would be ready to go, in spite of the fact that, of course, they do have a violation on their record. So I think you have to take a look at the bigger picture, which is where are we going to be at the end of January? If we give a license to an applicant, which could get a special event permit for some of the things they want to do in the next few weeks, we in effect will cut out Proper and About Time, and they won't have any opportunity to use a license for their benefit and for the benefit of their communities. For that reason, when I analyzed it, and this is obviously just a personal opinion, that we would probably be better off to hold the license for a month, encourage Fisher to apply for a special event permit to address their issues. West Side continues to have their Band-Aid in place. And then next month, we'd be in a position where we could consider not only West Side, but Fisher, Proper, and About Time, all who would be ready to open, and we would then make a determination, I think, based on more equal grounds.
I would like to add that we aren't asking Proper or About Time to do anything differently than what we've been asking Fisher to do for several years, which is operate under a tavern license until we have licenses available for them. And I do have concerns about the part of our liquor law that says that businesses are not supposed to use these, short-term or limited permits in place of doing the business that they are trying to do with the special event permits. And so for that reason, I want to I'm going to move that we award a license to Fisher this month and let them go ahead and put a license to good use. And then we can offer proper and about time tavern licenses and special event permits to the extent that they need those until they are able to either open or whether, or until they're able to get a license. So I'm moving that we give the license this month to Fisher.
Okay, thank you, Commissioner Orton. There's a motion on the table to award a license to Fisher. Is there a second to that motion?
I'm going to go ahead and second, but I'm not convinced of which way I'm voting yet. So
Thank
let's
you.
have the discussion.
Great. All right. So we've got a motion to discuss now. So let's open up for discussion. So
I do have a question.
go ahead. Go ahead, Commissioner.
So if they had a full license today or tomorrow, I know that they're under construction for their event space, but is the plan to start selling alcohol at their regular bar immediately?
Mr. Dwyer, can you answer that question for us,
Just to
please?
confirm.
Yes, it is. We're ready to go today with our existing infrastructure. The construction is a really exciting thing that we have coming in the next couple of months, but we can use this license today. And folks are really excited about it. So we're really trying to make some plans and get some certainty, and that would be afforded to us with this license today.
Great, thank you. Mr. Dwyer, would you consider a seasonal at this point?
Not because as soon as we run out, we're looking at the same problem, booking the event space into the busy summer season with weddings. Like, we need the
Completely
certainty
understand.
for that event space.
Yeah, completely understand. Thank you. Commissioner Tui.
Can I also ask you a question? Commissioner Orton made it sound like you were asked to take a tavern license. Was that the case?
Originally, we just had a tavern license because that was
Right.
the focus of our business model.
Right. I
Um,
wanted to clarify that because I don't recall ever asking Fisher to take a tavern license.
No, and I think what we wanted to do is always serve fresh beer on draft, and that was the point of our business when we first launched. But as we've grown, we've made significant investments in a canning line. We've really expanded our product offering this year as part of this expansion, and so the only way we can get that sold on site is with a full bar license.
Because of our liquor laws.
Correct.
Okay, thank you.
Excuse me,
Right,
Chair
and-
Tenner.
I
Would
should
you-
clarify. Oh,
One
sorry.
second. Go ahead, Commissioner Orton.
I should clarify that the reason I was saying that is because Mr. Dwyer and I had a conversation about, the fact that he didn't feel that, he didn't feel that getting a license was possible. And I think that's true with a lot of our applicants. And not only do a lot of our or potential applicants feel that a license isn't possible, and so they'll look for other ways to do their business, but it's also problematic when we have licensees with tavern licenses who then want to expand and we don't have licenses available. They just, they don't go on the list as quickly as some
Yeah.
others might.
Great.
So
Thank you, Commissioner Orton. Yeah, and I'll just add like my personal sentiment here is that if a business is making a decision that they'd like to convert a tavern license to a bar license, or we've even seen them in the past where a restaurant has wanted to convert a restaurant license to a bar license. If I as a commissioner, really don't have the expertise to weigh in on that personal business decision that the business is pursuing. And so I will just say from my place, I think that these changes are just as high priority as anything else. So thank you. Angela.
Chair Tenner, I would just respectfully ask that you recognize Mr. Bishop. He had his hand raised over there. I couldn't see him through the monitor.
Okay.
Thank you.
Mike.
For point of order, it might be worth noting that both Bout Time and Proper are planning on having full service restaurant licenses on the same premise as the bar license. And their construction on those restaurants, I'm not sure where they're at. And it might be worth asking.
Thank you, Mike. Is there any more discussion to this specific motion? All right.
Well, I think I'd like to, definitely, that's some interesting information that the other applicants may be looking at having a restaurant and therefore applying for a restaurant license, which of course we don't have a lot of either. But I think that's something we ought to have the full information in front of us to make any kind of decision. So I'd like to hear from both Proper and About Time as to whether or not that's what they are pursuing and whether or not they're also pursuing restaurant licenses for that part of their establishments.
Great, thank you, Commissioner Jacobson. Could we have Mr. Ryan come up and help us to understand your plans for the application for the full restaurant license, when those premises will be ready, what your timing of that application looks like?
Good morning again, Tim Ryan, About Time Pub and Grub. I did mention in, I think the July meeting, to put it on the record, that we were considering a dual license operation. And I've been talking with Mike on and off about that over the last few months. I did seek and receive local consent from Bluffdale City to have a restaurant license. My plan was to be perhaps restaurant downstairs, bar area upstairs, and we designed the construction that way. I talked to Mike just before the deadline and said, we're going to hold off on that. My operations team is thinking now that they want to stick with just the bar, keeping our model. We have 16 other locations doing exactly that. So it's something we thought, maybe we'll try for that market. But as of this moment, we haven't applied for the restaurant license, and sort of 3 against 1. So I don't think we'll be applying for that. I think it'd be a great market to try it, but I don't see that application forthcoming. And under any circumstance, I wouldn't open without a bar license. That is what we do at About Time Pub and Grub. I mean, we've shown our model works, and that's what our growth is based on, and our customer base. And I did get a commitment with our contractor. We are still on track for certificate of occupancy for the 30th. So, I mean, again, just to reiterate, we are super, super close, like with Proper and some of the others. I mean, we're right there.
Right. Thank you, Mr. Ryan, for that clarification. And again, just from my personal standpoint, you as the business owner make these decisions about what's right for your business. So thank you for sharing that information with us. Mr. Tendick, can you share with us the same, your intent to operate under a restaurant license on this premise or a different premise?
Yes, absolutely. Yeah, so that's always been part of the plan. So with the space that we took over was formerly a dual license location. And so that is, we've basically, done some remodeling to update the space, but as far as the layout, it's basically stayed the same. And so we do plan to do that. If all goes well, we could apply for the restaurant license in January. It might be February. Similarly, with both bar and restaurant side, our goal is to be open before if we can hit January or even February with the restaurant, that would allow us on the restaurant side. I know there's lately been limited licenses, but normally you kind of know that you can get one. And so we feel more confident with that to be able to hire staff and train them once we've applied for it. But on the bar side, the way that the layout works, the bar is not something that can really serve the restaurant. So we'll have a very small, pretty much draft and a couple cans menu for the restaurant side, and the bars will have the full, kind of beer bar experience and cocktail menu. So
Thank you. Thank you for clarifying for that again. And just I'll share the same sentiment. Again, my personal opinion is that you as the owner have the expertise about what you need to operate the business that you want to operate. We have a motion on the table. I will just go ahead and share that This is so hard. This is the kind of the position that we're put into, and I value the partnership that we have with the legislature, and indication seems to be that we're at the point where they see the pressure that these business owners are under in terms of the decisions that they have to make and the carrying costs that they have. And I am optimistic that we will get a little bit more breathing room during the legislative session. Now, I know that that there's lots that needs to happen there, but I'm optimistic in that. But it just all goes to say how this is very difficult to share that I will be voting no on this motion. I very much prioritize Fisher in our list when I look at what they can do with this license in terms of economic activity and what their needs are. I'm excited about them and their business license, but right now, when we're in this very scarce situation, I personally prioritize Moab as a rural area, a relatively rural area. I know Moab itself is a little different than some other rural areas, but again, it's an underserved place. It's off the Wasatch Front, and that's so just where my personal prioritization for this license is. I know that they don't have the staff hired, but again, the carrying cost of having, I understand the business decisions that our applicants are making, and I understand that it's very hard to hear from us, you need to go hire staff before we'll consider you for a license. And so that's just, again, just sharing personally where I am. Utmost respect for my colleagues, and I very much prioritize all of the establishments or the applicants that we're talking about today. It's just at this point, the location of this particular application is what will have me voting no on the motion that's on the table. Is there any other discussion to the motion that's on the table?
If I may,
Additional clarification.
Yeah,
Madam
of
Chair.
course. Commissioner Jacobson, Commissioner Randall has the floor.
Not quite discussion, but just clarification. If an individual decided to go with a seasonal winter, could I have a reminder of the length of that seasonal winter? And then say they would have to, if they had an existing license, they would have to let that license go. What's the process for them to then reapply into the future? Is there an additional fee for them if they decided to apply for a bar in the future?
Angela, Angela, will you please answer that question for us?
I'm going to defer to Mr. Bishop.
Okay, go ahead.
So the winter seasonal license runs from November 1st through April 30th. And the process doesn't change if they're interested in staying on the agenda. We just keep them on as we've done with West Side Tavern. There's no additional cost if that's their interest and intent to have that full year.
Thank you. Commissioner Jacobson?
Yes. Commissioner Tennant, I share your frustration. I can hear it in everybody's voice. And but the one problem we have is that, as Harry Truman used to say, the buck stops here, and you have to take the environment that's presented to you, and whether we all like it or we don't like the environment that we're given, we have to do that. And I think the most important thing for us to do is to try to be fair. And I know that Commissioner Tui has worked very hard on trying to come up with ways to prioritize. And in doing that, I think the problem here is that certain things jump out at you as, oh, that's a priority. By way of example, as you've pointed out, Commissioner Tennant, Proper Brewing is not on the Wasatch Front and therefore qualifies as rural Utah. I frankly also believe that what About Time has argued that they are in a zip code, an area that doesn't have any bars at all. That kind of puts them in an underserved, the quote, underserved area as opposed to rural Utah. And Fisher has clearly been working hard to try to get in a position where they can be comfortable with a long-term bar license. And to the negatives, of course, need to note Proper Brewing did have a violation, and that's normally a negative that we consider when we're looking at trying to be objective. They don't have their staff that's been hired. And about time is not ready to open. I appreciate what Mr. Ryan has told us. December 30th looks like a good date, but we know from one of his other operations that didn't come to pass either because of some obviously issues of either were beyond his control or otherwise. So we have a major dilemma in trying to apply our objective criteria that we've worked hard. And I'd like to hear from Commissioner Tui if she believes that there's any additional criteria that we have not discussed and we should be considering today.
Yeah, thank you, Commissioner
I
Jacobson.
didn't mean to put you on the spot either.
No,
I'm sorry.
I wanted to talk. It's fine. I mean, no one wants to have to talk about this at all. It's in our compliance committee discussion. Obviously, we talked about the pros and cons of doing a number of different things. Personally, I'm not in favor of holding back a license. I think considering our fiduciary duty as commissioners to the state, I see that it is our obligation to have these scarce resource licenses in use immediately and as effectively as possible. And it's for that reason, I'm not supportive of the motion on the table to give the license to Fisher, because I've stated this before, but the revenue that they bring into the state might be more if they have a bar license. However, holding back a bar license from Proper, for example, means that there is no revenue that will come in from their business to the state. And so it's with that sentiment. And by the way, I love Fisher. I've been a customer of Fisher. Feel like I'm voting against myself, but it's with that sentiment that I would put forward a substitute motion to award the license to Proper in Moab.
Right.
But don't
Thank
we
you.
have to vote down this first motion then first? Because the motion on the floor is to give it to Fisher.
If we have a substitute
Could I
motion, I don't know.
And can I make one? I would like to speak one more time before.
Okay, let's see if we get, let me just make sure from the AG or from council. Okay, so we had a motion that was seconded. We had discussion. Now we have a substitute motion. Do we just vote on accepting the substitute motion? Okay. So I think I need a second on substituting and then we'll take the vote on the actual motion.
So
Okay, so-
discussion is closed. So discussion.
I need to
is
have a
closed
discussion
on-
I need to have a second to have discussion.
I don't believe that's
So-
correct. I believe you have to vote on the existing motion. The substitute motion is contrary to the first motion. I think you have to vote the first motion down and then make a new motion. It's not an amendment or a supplement to the motion. Am I correct, Mr. Sam? Can you help us out on that? Because I'm sure everybody's looking to you for the opinion on this.
Commissioner Jacobson, just to, Sam.
Commissioner,
and
just give me
is-
1 second.
Yeah, they're consulting.
You know
Commissioner
what? How about I
Jacobson.
just make it easy? I'll rescind my substitute and
There
we'll
we
take
go.
a vote on the first motion.
There
that
we
they're
go.
Even seconded.
Okay, thank you, Commissioner Tui. So go ahead. So we're still in discussion. Commissioner Orton, go ahead, and then we're gonna call for the question. Go ahead, Commissioner Orton.
Okay, so first of all, I do want to reiterate the fact that it wouldn't be a situation where the other bar owners wouldn't be able to open if they don't have a license. They can open as restaurants, as has been mentioned, and they can open as taverns, as we're asking Fisher to continue to be open as a tavern. And all of the arguments about allowing Fisher to use, special event permits or temporary beer permits or whatever. To me, that's very uncomfortable because it goes to exactly what Chair Tenert has been talking about previously, where we have continued, even though Fisher is open and ready to open in full and put that bar license to good use, we continue to marginalize them. But just because they have a tavern license and they can, they can stay open indefinitely with a tavern license, but so can the other applicants. There's nothing barring them when they're ready from doing that. And so I just wanted to make clear that we're not limiting. If we were to give the license to Fisher and let them go ahead and put it together or put it to use during the holiday season, we're not barring the other applicants from opening and being open at, under the same circumstances as we're asking Fisher to continue to stay open. So that,
Thank you, Commissioner.
And I do think the restaurant situation is, I mean, we have considered that in the past to be a reason why we didn't hold a license for someone else, because they can open as a restaurant.
Thank you, Commissioner Ern. I just want to be clear in my statements that I'm not basing my comments or kind of how I plan to vote based on Fisher, have any judgment around Fisher having a tavern license. And for me, it's not about that. I'm the way that I'm prioritizing things, again, personally, through my lens, I'm looking at but I completely appreciate your sentiment. Commissioner Terrazon.
Thank you. So my only potential concern with proper is that so then if they get the full restaurant license as well, then they're holding two scarce licenses. So that's where my concern comes in, because we're saying that those full restaurant licenses are going to be a scarcity soon. So, I think we had something similar with Park City at one point where they wanted the one bar, they wanted the upstairs event space. And we were like, no, you have your restaurant license. So I'm happy to discuss. I'm not set to, I'm happy to discuss further, but, whereas Fisher can give up the tavern license and take one, now we're saying we're going to give you the scarce license. And then in a few months, we're going to give you another one.
I thank you very much, Commissioner. And that sentiment is actually very important and very valid and makes the point about the scarcity of bar licenses. And now the scarcity of restaurant licenses, we're deliberating on something where this business owner in a rural place has decided on a certain business model, and it concerns us. I share your concern, actually, that well, gosh, there's two scarce licenses now that we have to think about and potentially, hold back on one or the other. And this is just the type of decision making that we're needing to do. And we really do hope the legislature will work with us to just support small business and all business in their decisions. But thank you for bringing this point up. I think that we need to vote on the motion that is before us. And the motion that's before us is to award a license to Fisher. That was moved and seconded. And so, Vicky, can you help us through the roll call vote on that?
Chair Tenert. Commissioner Tui.
No.
Commissioner Randall. No. Commissioner Terrazon. Commissioner Orton.
Yes.
Commissioner Jacobson.
No.
All right, I will rule that motion fails. This is so, we're just, again, it would be nice to be in a position where we had more licenses to award, so we weren't in this situation. Are there any motions?
Madam Chair, I would like to make a motion that we schedule a special meeting toward the end of the first week in January to reconsider these items. And as part of that motion, to instruct staff to provide us, investigate and get staff's assessment as to the items that we have deemed to be critical, which are the ready to open with employees, the actual physical completion of the spaces, and some of those other items that the staff can actually evaluate without us having to take the subjective impressions that are unfortunately what we all do when we're trying to seek a license or some kind of approval. And that way we could maybe make a more objective determination at that point in time.
Thank you, Commissioner Jacobson. So there's a motion. I'm not sure that we would necessarily need, well, no, I don't know if we need a motion on this, but I think it is actually good to clarify. So we have a motion before us that to go ahead and try to schedule a special commission meeting for early January and gather some more details. Is there a second to that motion? All right, it sounds like we can't get a second on that. Director Clayson does clarify that if we can go ahead and schedule a special commission meeting if we need to, at my discretion as chair.
Chair, I'd like to make a motion that we award the bar license to Proper Brewing in Moab.
Thank you, Commissioner Tui. So there is a new motion to award a license to Proper Brewing Moab. Is there a second to that motion? I'll second. Right, seconded by Commissioner Randall. Discussion. As part of the discussion, I'd made my intent clear. I will vote aye on this. I would say that I am being objective in my vote. I realize there's always going to be a bit of subjectivity, but I feel confident in the objective information that I personally am weighing, but also respect my colleagues and, you know, what their needs are for additional information. But I just want to make sure that my personal opinion has gone on the record. Is there any other discussion?
I just want to say, one of the problems you have here is we're getting into a situation that we are hoping that they get open. We've already been told there's problems in hiring and that there hasn't been any steps yet to take to hire. And in the past, that has proven to be a major obstacle, that if we give a license and we come back to our next meeting and it's not open yet. So that's the problem we're facing, I see with
Commissioner
Proper.
Jacobson, I'm not sure if you heard what the applicant had to say about his hiring plan. Did you want him to come up and clarify that?
Well, I sure
You're
wouldn't
saying
mind
that
if
he has
did,
trouble
because
hiring, he's gonna have trouble hiring?
He said he hadn't actually hired anyone yet. From what I took out on my notes here.
Could you, are we still here? The representative from, could you come up and clarify? I thought that you said that you had hired a manager and you were doing interviews, but.
Yes, that's correct. So our GM's been on board since the start of the summer. And then we've been interviewing, we started our interview process about 2 months ago was our first interview. And we've, the last couple of weeks, especially as we've gotten closer, we've conducted numerous interviews. We have people that we're ready to hire. And this is an issue that we're going to face, be it next month or the month after, because unless we have a guarantee that we're going to get a license, we're kind of in this position where can we hire people and, especially in Moab, the reality is like our staff need to know that they're going to be working and making money because they have a guarantee with, a different place that's already open that they can go to. So
thanks for clarifying. I just want to make sure, because I was hearing Commissioner Jacobson, I was hearing a little bit different than what I thought I had heard from you. So thank you for clarifying.
And one note also just to mention is, when we, as far as a full service restaurant license, those were not scarce when we committed to this project. That's something that's come up fairly recently. If it's an issue, we are, on the restaurant side, again, we're going to have a very small service bar. If needed, we could go to a limited restaurant license where we're only doing draft beer there, because that's basically what we're going to be serving on the restaurant side anyway. So. Thank you.
Okay. Thank you. Commissioner Jacobson. Sorry, I just wanted to get that clarification.
I think that's clarification on that issue. And, the thing that makes it so tough is with all these other different factors in here, but I hear that they have interviewed, they've hired a general manager, but they actually haven't physically, I shouldn't say physically, but actually had commitments to hire particular individuals to serve. So the chances of them being open in the next 2 weeks or so. It seemed to me to be pretty, pretty remote. And thinking being fair to everybody, that's part of what we have to do.
Thank you, Commissioner.
Chair Tenner,
Yeah, go ahead, Commissioner Orton.
Hold on a second.
I just wanted to say that I share Commissioner Jacobson's concerns about the hiring and their ability to get open in a reasonable amount of time. And did I miss something? Do we have any kind of idea where he is as far as finding employees to work? Because I spend a good bit of time in Southern Utah, and it's my understanding that's a tough, and that was why the main reason why our subcommittee decided not to.
Commissioner Orton, I think the feed beta may have cut out. Mr. Tendick, could you come back and state where you are in the hiring process, and if you do have applicants that you've interviewed?
Yes, we have applicants that we've interviewed. We have applicants that are ready to start work. That we basically just need to say, yes, you're hired. That's where we're at.
Yeah, I think there might have been a little glitch in the virtual.
Again, this is the prime time to, you're right, Southern Utah can be difficult, especially when you get into the spring and summer months. And even the fall is very busy down there. So for us, this is the time to be able to guarantee that we have staff to open. So thank you.
Do you have any kind of idea how long it would take you to be able to get them hired, trained, and get liquor and whatever you need on premises to be able to put that full bar license into good use?
Sure. As I stated before, I think timeline of being able to be open for the New Year's Eve celebration was our goal. And so to be able to get, staff in, trained, probably a couple day break around Christmas, and then, continue with that. We also have staff, as part of our opening, because obviously Moab is a few hours away. We have staff up here that are going to be in Moab, assisting with opening, and even for the first few months, spending, we actually have, there's a part of the property there is a house on site. And so we have a place for our management staff to stay, so that we have staff that will be down there for, weeks at a time to help assist with the opening process and kind of ongoing training, making sure that they have support from our tenured management team through the opening process. So.
Chair Tenner, this is new information that we didn't have during our subcommittee meeting last week. And so with that understanding, I'm going to support Commissioner Tui's motion.
All right. Thank you, Commissioner Orton. Thank you, Mr. Tendick. And that's, I think, again, this is just as commissioners, we're just consuming information, as Commissioner Orton mentioned, this information around kind of where this particular applicant was in their hiring process and their ability to open. We have some new information that was before us today. And so again, it's influencing some of our votes, I'm sure. So any other discussion to the motion that's on the table?
So if I understand right, he thinks, Andrew thinks they're going to open before the end of the month. Is that right? Actually physically open and start serving alcohol before the end of the month.
For New Year's.
Commissioner, he's nodding his head yes.
Okay.
Vicki, let's go ahead and take a vote.
Chair Tenert,
Aye.
Commissioner Tui, Commissioner Randall, Commissioner Terrazon, Commissioner Orton,
Aye.
Commissioner Jacobson.
No.
Thank you. I'll go ahead and rule that motion is passed, and we've been awarded a license to Proper Brewing Moab. We need to see that license put into use, and I need to reiterate the commitment to do what we can do to work with the legislature on additional licenses. And for me, like I said, my current next priority is Fisher as it currently stands, with a close follow-up in about time super, super close. All right, thank you. Great, now I've got to go back to my agenda and see where we are. Full service or limit, full service restaurants.
I'm Jeff Colvin. I'll be filling in for Nicole.
Okay, thank you.
Good afternoon, commissioners. We have 4 full-service restaurant applicants. Currently, there are 25 full restaurant licenses available, plus 3 summer seasonal, and we will add 1 in January. So the first license is Sativa Gardens Cafe. They are currently opened and they are conditional pending business license, which once they get the liquor license, they will receive their business license. They will relinquish a limited restaurant license. Number 2 is Bluebird Opera Cafe. They'll be opening as soon as they get a liquor license. And we do have a final inspection also to go up and review their dispensing. We have number 3 is La Gringa. Good to go. They're open and they will relinquish their beer license at that time. So they are not conditional. Number 4, Scrambled and Fried. They are conditional. They do require a business license and final inspection. They will be opening on the 20th of January, and that's because they were planned for advertising a firm opening date. They do have plans for a soft opening prior to that. All applications are complete and meet statutory requirements.
Jeff, thank you very much. I think you said this in your opening, but I was distracted. How many full restaurant licenses do we currently have?
We currently have 25 full, and we do have 1 being added in January.
Great, okay, thank you. Are there any questions on these new applications? All right, if not, I'd be looking for a motion of approval.
Chair, I'd like to first of all say thank you to staff for only including those licenses that had a near opening date. That's a change that we asked for in the last commission meeting. So there are applicants that have opening dates a little further into the future. And for the future commission agenda meetings, we'll be holding those back until they're closer to opening time because of the scarcity situation we're in. So with that, I'll go ahead and make the motion that we approve as outlined by staff.
Great, thank you, Commissioner Tui. Is there a second to that motion?
Second.
Seconded by Commissioner Terrazon. I also heard that Commissioner Jacobson is supportive of this motion. Is there any discussion?
My only question to staff would be, it's next meeting, maybe you can give us the dirty list. How many are behind these people so that we know exactly what the doomsday forecast is. In other words, just kind of a separate list that says these are the people who've talked to us or applied and are months away, so we know exactly how many people are in line.
That's an excellent recommendation. Commissioner Jacobson, staff, can you help us with that? Commissioner Tui was pointing out that potentially, something similar to how we look at the bar establishment applications would be helpful. Commissioner Jacobson, I agree, because it kind of helps inform the decisions. All right, Vicky, let's vote.
Chair Tenert.
Aye.
Commissioner Tui. Commissioner Randall. Commissioner Terrazon. Commissioner Orton.
Aye.
Commissioner Jacobson.
Aye.
Great, thank you. We'll rule that the full service restaurant applications have been approved. Craig, looks like we've got 9 new applications for limited service restaurants.
Yes, that is correct. Thank you, Chair Tenant. Good afternoon, commissioners. We have 9 applicants. If I may, items number 5 and item number 9. The applications are complete. And they meet statutory requirements. The remainder of the items, 1, 2, 3, 4, 6, 7, and 8 are conditional. Otherwise, they do meet statutory requirements.
Thank you, Craig. Are there any questions of Craig about these limited service restaurant applications? All right. Seeing that there's no questions, I would like to look for a motion.
I'll make a motion to approve items 1 through 9 for limited service.
Great, thank you, Commissioner Randall. Is there a second to that motion? Seconded by Commissioner Terrazon. Any discussion? Vicky, can you call the vote for us, please?
Chair Tenert,
Aye.
Commissioner Tui. Commissioner Randall. Commissioner Terrazon. Commissioner Orton,
Aye.
Commissioner Jacobson.
Aye.
Right, thank you. Move that motion is passed and those limited service restaurant applications have been approved. Craig, on-premise beer only restaurant application.
Yes, thank you. One applicant for our beer only restaurant, La Frontera Restaurant in Midvale, is conditional, otherwise statutory requirements are met.
Are there any questions on this application? All right, seeing none, I'd be looking for a motion.
So move.
Okay, moved by Commissioner Jacobson. Is there a second?
Second.
All right. Seconded by Commissioner Tui. Any discussion? Vicky, can you call the question or call the vote for us?
Chair Tenert,
Aye.
Commissioner Tui.
Aye.
Commissioner Randall. Commissioner Terrazon. Commissioner Orton,
Aye.
Commissioner Jacobson.
Aye.
All right, thank you. The beer only restaurant application has been approved. Jeff, couple of package agency applications. Looks like they're both type 5.
Yes, good afternoon again, commissioners. These are both related to the prior manufacturing licenses that were approved with Second Summit Hard Cider and Simplicity Cocktails. And both of these licenses would not go into effect until the manufacturing licenses go to effect. Applications are complete and meet statutory requirements.
Thank you, Jeff. Any questions? Be looking for a motion to approve these applications then. Great, moved by Commissioner Terrazon. Second? Is there a second? All right, seconded by Commissioner Randall. Any discussion? Vicky, can you call the vote for us?
Chair Tenert,
Aye.
Commissioner Tui.
Aye.
Commissioner Randall. Commissioner Terrazon. Commissioner Orton,
Aye.
Commissioner Jacobson.
Aye.
Thank you. We've approved those applications. Next, Rob, there is an applicant for the on-premise beer recreational amenity application. I imagine that the new rule applies.
That is correct. This is our first video arcade for a beer recreational license. This is the Electric Game Box. They're located at the Fashion Place Mall in Murray. It is a conditional license based on the business license, but everything else is good to go. And they meet statutory requirements.
Okay, thank you, Rob. Given that this is one of these beer recs with the additional rule, I just want to make sure that we're being very careful as we're deeming what's recreational and thinking through the public safety impacts. I feel very comfortable with this, but just to ask you and do our due diligence, Rob, do you have any concerns with public safety here? Is the alcohol safety plan sufficient?
Yeah, it doesn't have the appearance of a bar. The alcohol will be in cans. It's the 5% beer. And it is a video arcade where you are part of the game. I've done it with my family. It is a very good workout. So it is a recreational event.
Thank you very much, Rob. Any questions about this application?
I'll make a motion that we approve the on-premise beer recreational amenity application from Electric Game Box.
Great, thank you,
Conditional.
Commissioner Tui. Is there?
As a conditional, yes.
As conditional.
Excuse me, as conditional. Thank you, Rob.
Thank you, Commissioner Tui. Is there a second to that motion? Seconded by Commissioner Terrazon. Any discussion? Okay, let's go ahead and take a vote.
Chair Tenert,
Aye.
Commissioner Tui. Commissioner Randall. Commissioner Terrazon. Commissioner Orton,
Aye.
Commissioner Jacobson.
Aye.
Great, thank you. That application has been approved. Give Director Clayson just a couple of seconds to get back to her chair. Okay. All right. Director Clayson, we're looking for an operations update.
Great, thank you. I'm just pulling up my notes. My apologies, everyone. I know that everyone's probably really itching to get out of here. While I pull up my notes, I think the first thing I just wanted to communicate and that I could remember that was at the top of my list to communicate was to one, let you know, and to recognize all of our staff that are working really hard. Chair Tenner, you alluded to our retail staff and the hard work that they're doing. And really, they do hard work all year. But we know that right before Halloween is when things really kick up. And quite frankly, that, 6 to 8 week period of the holidays is when, they work extraordinarily hard. It's when, almost 50% of our budget is realized. So I do absolutely want to let you know that our retail staff are working really hard, super appreciative. We've got a lot of our admin staff and even some of you, again, are working in these retail stores during this holiday season. In addition to our retail staff, though, our compliance staff are working really hard. As you know, the commission meeting came about a week earlier than it normally would because of the holidays. And because of that, application period was at the 10th, 11th. They worked really hard to vet information, vet applications, and get you guys the information that you needed to be able to make informed decisions this month. And so some of our compliance staff are here, but not all of our compliance staff are here. And to our compliance leadership with both Angela and Jeremy, the amount of work, attention, time it takes to really give you guys information and support you need, but also to do it more quickly is really challenging. So I hope you all hear that we see you and we're appreciative and we thank you for that work. On that note, my apologies. On that note, we do have a new compliance specialist that's joined the team, Jennifer Jones. Jennifer, would you raise your hand? So welcome to the team. And what a great way to be initiated than to sit through a commission meeting and get to see, this side of the work that you all do, right? But we're excited to have you. Welcome to the team. There's some really great stuff going on at our agency in general, but especially in compliance. And so looking forward to getting to know you better and the contributions that we know that you'll make. So again, I alluded last month to the annual report that statutorily we're required to submit, but we're not just, forced to submit it. We're proud to submit it, right? Because that's the annual reporting of all of our hard work, the fruits of our labors in all of our divisions. And so it was really important for me to report to you this month that as a part of that 2022 fiscal year annual report, we had alcohol sales of $57.45 million, so just over $557 million. After paying the department's operating costs, the remaining little over $229 million is put back into the community. So the DABS is obviously really proud of our role supporting all Utahns, whether or not they choose to drink alcohol. And we're proud of these financial contributions. So the $300 million from the fiscal year 2022, they fund services that we all use, again, whether we drink or not, like transportation, infrastructure, public health and education, and public safety. The third item, and if anyone's interested, I'm not filibustering, but I also might be filibustering here just to give them time to work on a few things, is I'm excited to report to you all about the governor's budget priorities. So many of you are aware that the governor released his budget. Some really exciting things in the budget for all of the state of Utah across education, environmental priorities, and really excited to obviously be a part of this administration and a cabinet member. Obviously, what I'm most interested in as a part of the governor's budget is those priorities, right, that impact and affect us here at the DABS. So I'm excited that our number one business case, which is our warehouse expansion, at least the first phase of our warehouse expansion, was prioritized by the governor. It will increase our warehouse capacity and better accommodate growing customer demand. So very excited. Obviously now we'll have to make sure that crosses the finish line. There's a lot of work to do before the legislature to educate them and to show them the immediate need for that project and why it's good for all of our customers, every citizen here in the state of Utah. We also received prioritization for an increase in our security personnel in our stores, as well as an increase of additional fleet vehicles, which is important for all of our staff, both retail and compliance, to be able to do their jobs, be out in the public, do their audits, et cetera. Also, very exciting, we were prioritized 3 stores, and these would be 2 store relocations, one in Moab and one in Roy, and then an additional new store in Ogden. So very important, especially when I think about our Moab and Roy stores. Those are stores in areas, I mean, they have very small footprints from a square footage perspective, but they really perform very well. And we know that that a new store in that area, a replacement store in that area, really is going to optimize the sales experience, not only from a revenue perspective, but from a customer service experience in both of those areas, not only for our citizens, but for our licensees. From here, I'd love to turn it over to Kate, who can give us a quick update on our project with a specific focus on the release of some RFPs coming up.
Thank you, Director Clayson. This is very exciting news for us as we focus on these requests for proposals. These are RFPs that we're going out looking for help as we finalize some of these projects. The biggest project that was from last year's funding was preparing for Click and Collect, which is an opportunity for us to buy online, pick up in store. We have been preparing for what that platform might look like with customer needs obviously at the forefront. So looking for a seamless online ordering system that will be user-friendly. This has been in conjunction with DTS, the Department of Technology Services, and we're grateful for their help in helping us get to this point. So over the next couple of weeks, we'll see those proposals go out and then look for companies that'll come and help us. The second one is in preparation for launching the Utah Wine Club. That's established as in state law to provide a subscription wine services to Utah customers. Once established, customers would be able to purchase wines through the service and then have products delivered to their preferred liquor store location for pickup. So those 2 big projects are going forward, and we're excited to see them come to fruition as we extend this opportunity. Obviously, after the request for proposals come out, contracts will be awarded, and then there'll be some internal workings that need to go on, and we expect those to go rather quickly, and hopefully we'll be able to meet those timelines as established early on. So that's our report. Thank you.
Director Clayson and Deputy Director Meyer, thank you so much for everything that you're doing for us and these updates. We got really focused on bar licenses today and also violation issues, which are very important parts of what the commission does. But the work of the DABS is so much broader than that. And it just takes a tremendous effort and tremendous expertise and dedication. And we just see this in you, Kate and Tiffany and the team. And just serving on the commission, I see this kind of, you get a look under the hood, right? And we're just so fortunate that you and your teams are here and doing this work for the state. So thank you. Any questions of the commission on the operations update? Okay. Let's move on to public comment. We can take comment from commissioners at this point if there is any. Vicki, did we receive any electronic comment via the hotline email?
We did not.
Okay, thank you. Is anyone here, would anyone here like to speak to provide public comment to the commission today? Mr. Ryan.
Good morning again. Tim Ryan, About Time Pub and Grub. Thank you for your robust discussion about the bar licenses. I don't envy the situation that you're in, and I know you don't envy mine. I simply want to take 1 minute to encourage every stakeholder, commissioner, staff member, and citizen to contact your legislative representatives immediately, especially our leaders in alcohol legislation, legislators Burton, Stevenson, Peterson, Wilson, and your own home representative. These folks need to hear from you at le.utah.gov. Need to get your contacts made right to them and demand that our legislators deal with this issue of alcohol licensing. They are strangling our economy, our businesses, our livelihoods, our employees. So we need to stay on the gas and get a hold of our representatives. That is the only way we're going to have change. So I encourage everyone to please follow up, contact our legislators, and let's make a difference on it. Thank you very much.
Mr. Ryan, thank you very much for those statements and for continuing. I know you operate your businesses, but you're also in this world where you're helping to influence some of the policy and really helping us as a commission communicate and other stakeholders to communicate. So I just wanted to say thank you, and it doesn't go unnoticed. Thank you.
If we can, thank you and happy holidays, everybody. Be safe.
Okay. Is there any other comment, public comment here in the room? All right.
Madam Chair, I just would quickly apologize for not being there in person. I hadn't unfortunately planned this trip with my grandson before we changed our meeting dates. So I apologize. I know it's very difficult for all of you to have to deal with somebody online. So I apologize again.
Thank you, Commissioner. And I will say, thank you so much for taking time away from a very important trip to actually join us virtually. And we just appreciate you being here with us virtually, as well as Commissioner Orton. All right, looking for a motion, then a final motion.
I'll move that we adjourn.
Okay, is there a second? All right, thank you. No discussion on that motion. I don't think we need a roll call on this, so aye. Thank you, everyone. Commissioner Jacobson, enjoy your time. Safe travels. Commissioner Orton, we'll look forward to catching up.